Immortal Family Cultivation. I am the reincarnation of a great ancestor. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Breakout, Sacrifice. This raid seemed simple, and the battle ended in a few breaths. But the truth was far from being as easy as it seemed. Let's not talk about the price the Zhang family paid to obtain this information and to make Kui Wenhui abandon his people and leave. The Yan family's own preparations and drills alone took a lot of time and energy. Only by making proper arrangements in advance can such an effect be achieved. The 7 members of the Yan family had a clear division of labor. The magic cannon Yan Lingyu and Yan Ruian launched a large-scale magic attack, forcing the Kui family to disperse. Then Yan Zhenyan, as the spearhead, led the team into the enemy formation and went straight to Kui Junshu. Other members of the Yan family, including Yan Xianhong, split themselves to resist the Kui family monks who wanted to support. The most critical link was that everyone used the Liangxin Daofu array to briefly give Yan Zhenyan powerful mana support, so that he could catch him by surprise and kill him with one blow. But the mana of the Yan family was not only shared, but also consumed without any other supplements except for the pills that had been held in their mouths early. This led to them being powerless when facing the Kui family monks who came back to help. Moreover, as a local force, the Kui family was not weak, and its overall strength was even better than that of the Yan family, with 5 people in the late stage of foundation building. When the Kui family monks saw Kui Junshu being beheaded, they were heartbroken, not only because he was one of their clansmen, but also because the former was the target of their protection. If the target was killed, the remaining clansmen would definitely be held accountable by the family's top leaders. Even Kui Wenhui was not free from responsibility. But now that things have come to this, in order to make up for their mistakes, they can only leave the murderer behind to collect intelligence and retaliate. Therefore, at this moment, the Kui family monks were like chicken blood, with momentum surging, narrowing the encirclement, surrounding the Yan family, and wanting to capture them. One side was clearly showing a decline, while the other side was in full swing. The Yan family fell into crisis in an instant. If it is not good, the whole army will be wiped out and all the previous efforts will be wasted. Yan Zhenyan, standing in the void, took out another spiritual weapon spear. Although the black crane red top spear was not as good as the previous one, it was still enough and was also a top-grade spiritual weapon. He held the spear across his chest, alert to the surroundings, and took a defensive posture. He also transmitted a message: strive to break through. Abandon what should be abandoned, leave. Report. Remember the mission, Yan Zhenyan called twice, one to all the Yan family members who were trapped in the enemy's formation. The other was to Yan Ruian who was hiding outside. The latter was not on the queue at the moment. Apart from the previous long-range attack, he no longer exposed his identity and was the only safe person in the Yan family now. The clan members, under the masks, all had solemn expressions, knowing that the moment of life and death had come. Roar, it was unknown which side or who roared. The originally somewhat stalemate situation instantly became chaotic, with light and shadow interlaced in the void, swords and knives crisscrossed, and the Taoism was messy. The Yan family burst out with momentum again, and their strength increased by another level. But these were all short-term improvements in exchange for the method of burning life. The Yan family is different from the Kui family. The Yan family is fighting with a belief that they will die, while the Kui family is still fighting for the mission. The latter cherishes life more and chooses to avoid those attacks that are like exchanging injuries for injuries as much as possible. And in terms of cooperation alone, the Kui family and the Yan family are very different. The Kui family's violent spells may even hurt their own family members, and they become full of scruples and timid. However, with the cooperation of Yan Zhenyan, the Yan family is cautious and methodical, trying to open a gap again and again. So, for a while, the Yan family has a tendency to break through. Who are these men in black? Why is the leader so powerful? He used the attack that was like that of a giant in Cultivator before, and he still had enough strength to continue fighting, and he was even able to fight 2 people alone. Their moves are so unfamiliar, they don't look like the local forces in Longming County. When did my Kui family provoke them? They cooperate so well. Could they be people from the Dacian military? But no matter who it is, if you touch my Kui family, I will never let you off easily. The Kui family cultivators were confused. But they were not stupid. They knew that the other party had started to fight desperately and was already at the end of their strength. As long as they delayed, their momentum would naturally decay over time. As expected, it was developing in a bad direction for the Yan family. Yan Lingyu and others were helpless against the Kui family's relentless pursuit and the quagmire-like moves. Retreat is often more difficult than risking one's life to kill the enemy. Maybe there are Zhang family members supervising the battle in the shadows at this moment, but since Uncle Kui Jun is dead, they can't expose their identities. In other words, at this moment, the Yan family had no help at all, and whether they could survive depended entirely on their own abilities. At this time, the most burly man on the battlefield, Yan Lingyu of the Yan family, seemed to have made a decision in his heart, and his internal ki became more violent, and cracks appeared faintly on his skin under his black clothes. This elder of the Yan family wanted to use his life to exchange for a way out for his clansmen. But at the same time, there were many people in the Yan family who had the same idea as him. And they acted faster. Yan Zhencheng and Yan Xianhong, the uncle and nephew, looked at each other and found the determination in each other's eyes. The two shouted at the same time, disconnected the connection of the Liang Sindao talisman formation, and left the Yan family team together, with dazzling light bursting out of their bodies. They also knew that this was not a solution. It was impossible for so many people to leave, and someone would have to sacrifice. Yan Xianhong was closest to Yan Lingyu and also noticed the changes in the other party. The former sent a message in time, "Fourth clan elder, you are in the late stage of foundation building, more powerful than us, and more valuable. The family's future mission will be completed by you, please cherish your life." The Yan family went to the Central Plains not to preserve their bloodline. If so, the value of the younger and more promising Yan Xianhong and Yan Zhencheng would naturally be higher than that of Yan Lingyu, who had one foot in the ground. But they came with a mission, with the purpose of prospering the Yan family and gaining a foothold in the Central Plains for the Yan family. At this time, there was no difference in age and potential. Whoever had a higher immediate combat power would have greater value. Although he was helpless and sad in his heart, Yan Lingyu finally suppressed his breath. He was nearly 200 years old, not the rude boy he used to be. Naturally, he knew what was important and was naturally more sophisticated and tougher. Only if he was alive could he create value for the family. Yan Lingyu didn't say much, but gritted his teeth desperately, looked at the clan members deeply, and then notified Yan Zhencheng and other clan members of the news, asking them to be prepared. Yan Zhencheng led Yan Xianhong and rushed into the encirclement of the Kui family monks without hesitation. This sudden action also made the Kui family realize that something was wrong. They are going to self-destruct, get out of the way, run. The power of the self-destruction of the foundation-building monks should not be underestimated, let alone two of them. Maybe the people of the Kui family can resist, but they will also be seriously injured. This is what they are most worried about, because not all the black-clothed assassins self-destructed. Compared with the unprepared Kui family, the Yan family, which strengthened its defense early, will be less impacted. Of course, who will win or lose at that time is also unknown. But the Kui family did not dare to gamble. They did not need to fight desperately with the other party. Moreover, the assassins might not be able to escape through the gap created by the self-destruction. After all, there is nothing here within 100 miles, and they can catch up if they turn back. So, the Kui family monks fled from the center of the explosion. Chapter 177, at the end of the road, help arrives. Before the two members of the Yan family blew themselves up, Yan Zhencheng angrily threw out a spell, hitting Yan Xianhong who was in a daze, awakening him. You are already 100 years old, and you are still so indecisive. Although Yan Xianhong and Yan Xianhong are not brothers, they have a very good relationship. Over the past 100 years, the two brothers have relied on each other to go through countless distances. In this unfamiliar Longming County, they acted together and their feelings were sincere. Therefore, when Yan Xianhong received the news that Yan Xianhong chose to sacrifice himself, he could not help but feel grief and anger in his heart, and this emotion imprisoned his body. But fortunately, there was Yan Zhencheng's reminder. The powerful magic power shook the former away, and Yan Xianhong turned around and left with his power. Seeing that the tribesmen began to evacuate, Yan Zhencheng raised the spear in his hand and sent a message to the remaining tribesmen, lend me some more power. The next moment, the spiritual spear in his hand shone brightly. The spear comes out like a dragon, another killing move. Yan Zhencheng made another attack just in case, delaying the opponent as much as possible. Boom, boom, two loud noises appeared almost at the same time, deafening and shaking the world. This is a double-edged sword. Although it can temporarily stop the pursuit of the Kui family, Yan Lingyu and his men are too close to the explosion range, and it is difficult not to be affected by the aftermath. Several people were injured. These few breaths of time allowed the Yan family to escape for several miles. But they could not withstand the Zhang family's relentless bite like a mad dog. The Yan family had many injured, consumed a lot of energy, and had low cultivation, so there was a high probability that they would be caught up. What should I do, Brother Yuan? Yan Linyu's wife's anxious voice rang in his mind. Several people, including Sheng Wenqin and Yan Lingyu, put their minds on the former, hoping that he, the backbone, could come up with a solution. Yan Lingyu gritted his teeth and knew that he could not escape in the current situation, so he just hoped for the last solution. When the Yan family arrived at the riverbed, they naturally detected the surrounding environment. Most of the areas were normal, but there was a forest where the divine sense could not penetrate. Yan Lingyu believed that the Zhang family, the mastermind behind the scenes, would definitely set up a second method. If the Yan family sent someone to rob and kill, the Yan family would also personally place an ambush to ensure that there would be no mistakes. This group of ambushes would wait until the assassin failed and then appear to clean up the mess. Therefore, after all the above considerations, Yan Lingyu was 80% sure that there was a group of Zhang family cultivators in the forest not far away. Originally, Yan Lingyu did not want to go there because he was not sure whether the other party would abandon him and not rescue him. But now they have run out of tricks and can only gamble on this. Follow me to break through the front, Yan Lingyu pointed with one hand and transmitted the message. And it was just as Yan Lingyu expected. About 2 days ago, the Zhang family had arrived outside the White Fang Valley, and in order to prevent being discovered, they came earlier than the Yan family and chose the forest that Yan Lingyu pointed to. Zhang Xiling was also in the queue, with about 10 foundation-building cultivators. Zhang Pinghu had already led Kui Wenhu away. Next to Zhang Xiling was a tall and thin old man, who was Zhang Huayan, the biological father of the former. The father and son were looking at the battle between Yan and Kui in the distance. Before this mission, the Zhang family had specially retrieved information about Cheonan County and had a deep understanding of the reputation of the Yan family. They also knew about the conflict between the other party and King Shu Shangzong, and roughly guessed that the Yan family was eager to enter the Central Plains. This Yan Lingyu, or this Yan family is really powerful, Zhang Huayan sighed after seeing Kui Junshu being killed. The Yan family's choice of location is indeed unexpected, breaking the routine and making people relax their vigilance. To be honest, our Zhang family is not as good as them in this regard. In fact, even without the participation of the Yan family, the Zhang family would eventually take action themselves, and their original plan was to launch a surprise attack in Bai Valley, a place with a favorable geographical location. However, this would lack the right time and people. In comparison, the Yan family's plan was just right, both in terms of location and timing. After hearing this, Zhang Xiling also looked sideways at his father, waiting for the other party to continue. Zhang Huayan continued, the Yan family is not only strategic, but also has strength that should not be underestimated. The shot that Yan Lingyu used to break through the many obstacles almost reached the limit of the late stage of foundation building. Ordinary cultivators cannot perform it at all. I think he used some secret method. If the Yan family did not have this fatal blow, all the previous preparations would be useless. Its strong attack ability is also better than our Zhang family. Then, the Zhang family witnessed the self-explosion of Yan Xinchang and Yan Xianhong. This made Zhang Huayan, who was originally a little calm, look solemn. His gray eyebrows wrinkled slightly, his eyes flickered, and he couldn't help but say, it seems that our evaluation of the Yan family needs to be raised to a higher level. The Yan family is not a deadly force. It is impossible for them to self-destruct. But the two unknown Yan family cultivators sacrificed themselves so resolutely, and the other members of the family also gave up decisively. This is where the Yan family excels ordinary people, and this is also the character of the members that my Zhang family has been trying to cultivate for thousands of years, but to no avail. Zhang Huayan showed a trace of respect. In any case, the battle of the Yan family did conquer them and changed many of the Zhang family's original views. The Yan family in front of them is by no means a small force in a remote place. It may be a sleeping dragon that has just awakened. Dad, they seem to be coming towards us. Should we rescue them? Zhang Huayan said, Sharp insight, amazing. Then he said, they can be rescued. He explained to his son, there are 8 people in the Yan family, but only 7 appeared in front of us. They also guarded against us. Although we may expose our identities if we take action, it goes against the original intention of hiring a killer. But in this case, if we don't rescue them, the escaped Yan family cultivator will definitely reveal everything our Zhang family has done. Moreover, this Yan family is indeed a good knife, and it is worth our help. Give the order to take action. After Zhang Huayin finished speaking, he disappeared and poured his own magic power into the ground. But there was one sentence that he didn't finish saying to his son, but kept in his heart. Can the Zhang family control the Yan family's knife? Is this good or bad? Don't run, come and die, tell me who instructed you, otherwise I will extract your soul and refine your spirit. Behind him, the voice of the Kui family cultivator was getting closer and closer. Many of the Taoist spells almost brushed past Yan Zinhuan's body. If he was slow to dodge, he would die immediately. At this moment, the Yan family suffered another loss. Lu Hedon was also shot down before and was silent. Just when the Yan family was desperate, a thick smoke filled the air. The figures of Yan Zinhuan and others disappeared from the range of the Kui family's spiritual consciousness. Chapter 178 Mission completed. Zhang family's attitude. Thick black miasma suddenly appeared between heaven and earth, engulfing Yan Zinhuan and his party, making their figures disappear from the side of the Kui family. Kui Lingfeng, a late-stage foundation-building cultivator, was shocked and stopped, muttering, "There are helpers." At the same time, a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. The murderer who killed Kui Junshu must be a hired assassin, and the one who used such protection must be the person behind the scenes. The Kui family also speculated that his identity was nothing more than one of the mortal enemies, or even a conspiracy of several families. Kui Lingfeng watched the murderer escape into the black miasma, helplessly, and ordered his family members to retreat. The current situation is unknown. If they really fight with the other party, many of their own family members will probably die. Kui Junshu is already dead and cannot be saved. The Kui family will naturally avenge this hatred. But it is not so stupid as to kill 1,000 enemies and lose 800 of their own. There is no need to fight to the death. Although Kui Lingfeng was extremely angry, he was still very rational in his heart. Moreover, there were other reasons for him to give up the pursuit. If he was ambushed before, you can say it was a coincidence. But now there is a force looking in, it must have been premeditated. What does this mean? It means that their Kui family's plan has been exposed long ago, and there is a ghost in the Kui family. The planners and the executors are 2 groups of people. If there is a ghost, the responsibility is not entirely on Kui Lingfeng and the escorts. Their crime of not protecting Kui Junshu is reduced. Kui Lingfeng tightened the long knife in his hand and decided to tell these things to his elders and let them make a decision. On the other side, a light and shadow exchanged. From the sky and the earth to the sudden enlightenment, Yan Zinhuan saw a familiar face, that is Zhang Ziling. And beside the latter stood many people wearing the same clothes, presumably other members of the Zhang family. At this point, Yan Zinhuan's body softened and he breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that he was saved. Fortunately, he knew the character of the Zhang family in advance, and that there was a secret Yan ruin, otherwise the rescue might not come. If the Yan family was chased by the Kui family, Yan Zinhuan would eventually order them to flee in different directions. But this would cause the Liang Xindao talisman formation to be disconnected, and the strength of the clan members would be reduced. At that time, perhaps only he and Yan Lingyu, both in the late stage of foundation building, would be able to escape, and his wife Shengwen Qin and clan member Yan Xianjun would be killed or captured. This was a decision that would not be made unless it was absolutely necessary. Stopping, Yan Zinhuan panted, and after calming down the turbulent qi in his body, he clasped his fists and thanked, "Thank you all for coming to rescue me." At the same time, Zhang Ziling, as the representative of the Zhang family, also came to the former's side, with a concerned look on his face. While handing out a few jade bottles, he said, "Fellow Taoist Yan, there is no need to be like this. We have all seen what you have done for our Zhang family. It is the Zhang family that needs to thank you. Take these healing pills quickly, stabilize your injuries, and be careful of any abnormalities." Yes. Although I know that the other party is suspected of being pretentious, it is still comfortable to hear. Yan Zinhuan took the pills and distributed them to other clansmen. When he saw Yan Lingyu, who was pale and looked like a dead person, his heart was clenched. The latter's lifespan was not much, and coupled with this desperate fight, The burning life method was constantly used, and I think it would not be long before the end. If it were an ordinary foundation-building cultivator, he would have been overwhelmed long ago. Only because Yan Lingyu has a strong physique and strong vitality can he hold on until now. Yan Lingyu didn't say much, but secretly gave him more pills. Their Yan family's own pills have been used up in the past 10 years. Now that the Zhang family has given them a lot, they naturally have to make the best use of them. After getting a safe environment, Yan Lingyu didn't care about anything else, and began to calm down and straighten out his breath, and secretly explored the surroundings. They should be in a formation at this moment. The formation has the effect of isolating the breath from the outside, unless it is actively activated and produces black miasma. It is really invisible at ordinary times. This is somewhat similar to the concealment method that the Zhang family had set up for them before. This should be an enhanced version. Yan Lingyu had an idea in his mind, whether he could get this formation. There is a talisman formation inheritance in the family, and there is the 7th aunt Yan Lingyu. Maybe he can add another useful formation to the Yan family. But these are just thoughts now, whether they can be realized is still unknown. At the same time, Yan Lingyu also felt that his body was constantly moving. Zheng Huayan gave an order, and the surroundings changed, and a new scene appeared. They had left the Bei'ai riverbed, came to the mountain forest, and were returning to Huangjiang City. Zhang family's secret room. There were several Zhang family high-level people in it, including Zhang Pinghu and Zheng Huayan. However, the former had a gloomy face and was slightly injured. It took a lot of effort for him to hold back Kui Wenhua, the giant and cultivator of the Kui family. How is it? Is Uncle Kui Jun dead? Have you exposed your identity? Zhang Pinghu couldn't wait to ask when he came to the secret room. And Zheng Huayan also told him the situation word by word. I didn't expect that the Yan family was really capable. My original idea was to let them consume the Kui family, and then we would finish it. I didn't expect that they actually completed it in one breath. Zhang Pinghu was a little surprised. He had suffered a small loss in the previous fight with Kui Wenhua, although this was related to his insistence on keeping the other party. Originally, he had been prepared for the sacrifice of his clansmen, but he didn't expect that this Yan family who suddenly appeared was really extraordinary. Then, Zheng Huayan told all the clansmen about his thoughts on the Yan family. Master Tiger, I have sent people to Xiaonan County to investigate the Yan family. Whether it is their deeds or the characters that appear, they can show that they are not wild cats, but tigers that are just bound. I am worried that they will use the power of our family to develop in the Central Plains. Oh, Zhang Pinghu showed a trace of solemnity, and then asked, what do you think? After all, he had not witnessed a fighting of the Yan family with his own eyes, and his judgment would be lost, so he wanted to see the attitude of the younger generation. Zheng Huayan's eyes flashed coldly. Eliminate, or make friends. The two choices also show that Zheng Huayan has a very high evaluation of the Yan family. This shows that in his opinion, the future of the Yan family must be beyond the control of the Zheng family. Although there are more than a dozen giant and cultivators in the Zheng family, and there are also late giant and cultivators, while the Yan family has only 2 early giant and cultivators. Zheng Huayan's words made Zhang Pinghu fall into deep thought. The latter raised his head and asked again, what would you choose to do? Zheng Huayan pondered for a moment and said the following, as far as I know, the Yan family is not a bad force, and even if Yan Lingyu and other backbone members of the Yan family are in our hands, even if they are killed, the Yan family still exists, and they are deep in Xiaonan County. A strong dragon cannot suppress a local snake. It is not an easy task for our Zheng family to eradicate them. We have more enemies for nothing, so, my suggestion is to coerce and lure them, and try to tie them to my Zheng family's car. Chapter 179 Harvest, Submission. Zheng Huayan fully expressed his thoughts. For the sake of his own interests, he was more inclined to make friends with the Yan family. Zhang Pinghu nodded in agreement, but still said, even so, we have to be careful of one side to prevent trouble. Also, Huayan, you go back and tell the main family about the Yan family. This sharp knife is not in vain. It can clear a lot of obstacles for the Zhang family. Moreover, after this battle, the Yan family will send reinforcements, so we have to take good care of it. The latter said that he understood. In fact, the main family of the Zhang family is not a force in Jizhao, and even its clan land is not within the scope of Longming County. And the role of this branch of Zhang Pinghu is still mainly to make trouble and check the development of Longming County. As long as the goal is achieved, any means are feasible. So, Even if they raise an ungrateful wolf, as long as this wolf is cruel enough to turn Longming County upside down, their mission will be completed. Then pat your butt and leave. What if all the assets here are left to the Yang family? It can be deduced that if the Zhang family makes friends with the Yan family, the former will not lose anything, but will only make a small profit. Why not do it? Then Zhang Pinghu said, we have to keep a close eye on the Kui family in the next few months. Today's incident can be concealed for a while, but not forever. We should make preparations in advance. It depends on how much time the Yan family has gained. How much we can do, his low voice kept reverberating in the entire secret room. 3 days passed. An inn in Huangjiang City. Now with the secret support of the Zhang family, the Yan family lives a good life in the city. Of course, it is impossible for them to enter the Zhang family in the current situation, and their identities may be discovered by the enemy. The Zhang family is indeed a top giant in force. The reward they gave to the Yan family for beheading Kui Junshu is extremely rich. There are full 150,000 spiritual stones alone. There are also a wide variety of elixirs for healing and nourishing Qi, and the value is also around 150,000. Not only that, the spiritual tools consumed by the Yan family and their entourage have almost been replenished by the Zhang family, and they are brand new. Yan Zinun originally lost 2 spears, and when he was worrying about how to refine them, the Zhang family generously sent him a Zhuangguanghu feather spear. The quality of this spiritual weapon in the Central Plains is indeed much higher than that of Xiaonan County. This made the Yan family feel deeply moved. And these spiritual objects they obtained can be better transformed into intelligence in the future and delivered to the family. As long as you have money, you can buy any intelligence. The biggest gain of the Yan family in this raid is not these. In fact, what really makes Yan Zinun happy is to see the attitude of the other party from the Zhang family's approach. Yan Zinun can clearly feel that the Zhang family intends to make friends with him. Relying on the Zhang family is what they need and value most now. With the support of the Zhang family behind him, Yan Zinun can also rely on some of his subsequent actions, and he is not afraid of being excluded by other forces and missing various opportunities. At the same time, the Zhang family is also a way for them to contact the upper forces of Longming County. Although this time the harvest is quite fruitful, at this moment, the Yan family members do not have a trace of joy on their faces. Because while they were reaping the rewards, their efforts were also painful. The 3 tribesmen who had lived together day and night were never seen again, and even their bodies could not be found. The other survivors, except Yan Ruyan, including Yan Zinun, were more or less left with hidden diseases, which affected their future limits. After all, the sequelae of the burning blood method are not so easy to eliminate, and some people have to pay for it with their lifetime. Among them, Yan Lingyu was in the worst situation. Under the combined efforts of heart and strength, his originally few gray hairs and beards have all fallen out in the past few days. And his face was particularly haggard, which made people worry about him. But Yan Lingyu kept saying that he was fine, and the other tribesmen didn't say much. Suddenly, under the gaze of everyone, a stream of light escaped from the window into the house, and an ancient letter with spiritual aura fell into Yan Zinun's hands. This is a letter from Jiu Shuling. Yan Zinun calmed down and looked at the contents inside. Because Yan Xinchang and others died, the soul lamp of the natal soul far away in Kia Shuling immediately changed and went out. Therefore, the family hurriedly sent a message to inquire about the situation and whether help was needed. Yan Zinun could see from the tone of the letter that his 3rd brother Yan Xingkang, who had always been unusually calm, actually showed worry and impatience. Yan Zinun took a deep breath, pondered for a moment, and then wrote a reply. He roughly told the story of the 3 families of Yan, Zhang and Kui, but omitted some of the fighting and his own losses. In particular, he did not report Yan Lingxiang's current unstable situation back to the family. This was not only Yan Zinun's own idea, but also Yan Lingxiang's request. It has always been the tradition of outsiders to report good news but not bad news. They are worried that the situation here will be passed back to the tribe, which will affect the emotions of the tribe members and disrupt the original policy of the family. Of course, if you really can't hold on, you should report it. But now that you rely on the Zhang family, the situation has improved. Yan Zinun wrote at the end of the letter, the situation in Longming County has stabilized. We can try to lay out the intelligence network and start formal operations. Everything is still going according to the original plan. Longming County is now in good condition, only lacking manpower, After the letter was transformed into a stream of light and shot into the sky, Yan Lingyu took out another envelope separately, tied the letter to a storage bag, and handed it to Yan Ruyan. Ruyan, go find the Ancestor Lingwen and take the teleportation array. We still have enough spiritual stones now. Yes, the latter agreed and left in a hurry. It was not Yan Linyu's branch that entered the Central Plains, but a total of 3 branches of the Yan family. They were led by Yan Lingyu, Yan Lingwen, and Yan Lingfu, and were scattered in 3 different counties. They were not independent of each other, but had secret exchanges, sharing the intelligence they received and proofreading. In the storage bag given by Yan Lingyu, there were many spiritual objects earned this time. The 3 branches of the Yan family were in similar situations. Yan Lingyu also knew that the tribesmen were in difficulty, so he immediately sent them the harvest after the harvest, hoping to provide help. It was not the fault of the Yan family's poor logistics and inability to provide support. It was really too far away. The freight was expensive and took a long time, so it was better to find a way by yourself. The letter accompanying the storage bag also briefly explained the situation of Yan Lingyu. And Yan Lingyu also stated that he needed manpower support. If the other 2 branches were rich, they could dispatch their tribesmen over. Although Yan Lingyu did not know the specific plan of Hengshui, a sword genius appeared in the family and overwhelmed the tribesmen from all parties. I think the family will focus on this person. The best sword force in the Central Plains is Kuiwei Jianjin in Longming County. This indirectly shows that among the 3 branches in the Central Plains, Yan Lingyu has the greatest responsibility and needs to take on more, and it will also become the main place for development in the future. Before the reinforcements of the family arrive, Yan Lingyu will have more help. He walked out of the window and looked in the direction of the Zhang family. Yan Lingyu knew that the Zhang family would not be kind enough to let them rest. Chapter 180, 1.5 years, Sense of Responsibility. A flying boat was floating in the void thousands of miles away from the territory of Longming County. In a single compartment on it, Yan Lingyu restrained his breath and slowly opened his eyes. It has been a full 1.5 years since he set out from Hengshui. Most of this time, he lived and practiced in this flying boat. With the blessing of cultivation recovery, Yan Lingyu has reached the 8th level of key training and is almost on the threshold of the 9th level of key training. According to his own estimation, he will be able to try to build a foundation within 3 years. This is much faster than in the previous life. He will only be 21 years old by then, while he was already 25 after building a foundation in the previous life. Perhaps it was because his cultivation in the previous life was a golden elixir, which would speed up the rate of cultivation recovery. And as his cultivation increased, Yan Lingyu's practice of Zhuangxi Shumianju also made some progress. The source of the spirit body and the Hengshui Yinli can be mastered again. It's just that the promotion effect of the Hengshui spirit body has been lost, and it is far less powerful than in the previous life, but it is enough. After all, Yan Lingyu's development in this life is no longer in the water-based Taoist arts, but more inclined to swordsmanship. Now, he has practiced the autumn water sword to the strongest and can no longer improve. This also means that the 3 swords of Sankyu, Xianshu and Huangai, which are combined into the autumn water sword, have also lost their effectiveness and have been replaced by the former. After all, these 3 swords are completely included in the autumn water sword. During this period of time, Yan Lingyu did not spend all his time on the autumn water sword. He also specialized in another set of sword moves. Similarly, he condensed 3 sword moves from the 3 ancient sword techniques through the natural sword body, and then created a new sword method based on the 3 sword moves, called Bingpo sword method. This Bingpo sword is Yan Lingyu's second concentrated sword, and its grade is the same as the autumn water sword. The Bingpo sword contains the sword meaning of the cold winter, and it is a method of attacking the soul. When Yan Lingyu entered the secret place of the High family, the yellow spring of 100 ghosts, he found the soul-attached column in it, which enhanced the power of the cultivator's soul. He secretly copied a small soul-attached pillar and placed part of his soul on it. Yan Lingyu and Yan Lingyu are essentially the same person, so this belongs to the latter's soul, and the former can also use it. Therefore, when Yan Lingyu returned to Hengshui, he took out the soul-attached pillar that was hidden and only known to himself, and used it to enhance his own soul power. It is also on this premise that he can better practice the Ice Soul Sword. Obviously, Yan Lingyu pays great attention to offensive means in this life. Whether it is the Hengshui sword or the Ice Soul Sword, they are mainly used for killing. Offense is the best defense, and Yan Qingsun also has Renshu Yinlei as a backup. At the same time, he is already preparing for the next sword technique. Yan Qingsun has mastered the meaning of autumn and winter. Now as long as he cultivates the meaning of spring and summer, the sword moves of the 4 seasons are just around the corner. 2 concentrations can reach the H1 level. This 3 concentrated sword technique is at least a H1 level upper grade sword move. The family was very pleased with Yan Qingsun's progress in swordsmanship, so they spent a lot of money to buy a low-grade spiritual weapon, Zuanqi Shuling Sword, in this Hongyan County, which they passed by, to strengthen the former's strength again. During the days on the flying boat, Yan Qingsun did not close his eyes and ears and did not learn about foreign affairs. On the contrary, he inquired about a lot of family intelligence. He knew that there were many casualties among the clansmen in various parts of the Central Plains. Because the family is about to start a big plan, the younger generation of key training clansmen will arrive soon. This means that those clansmen who entered the Central Plains early, such as Yan Zhenitun, Yan Lingyu, etc., must be fully mobilized and truly gain a foothold in various regions, so that the subsequent clansmen can better enter the Central Plains. After all, there are many key training monks in this latter batch, the future of the Yan family. If there is no relatively stable and comfortable environment, the fragile new generation of the Yan family will easily wither. They had an accident, and the lifeblood of the Yan family, the roots of the Yan family, were broken. Yan Zhenitun and others also knew this very well, so they were more urgent. Therefore, the number of family members who died in the past 2 years was originally more than in the past 20 years. Yan Qingsun sighed silently. At this point, he also knew the situation of his son Yan Zhenitun. As a father, he had no way to provide any help, and could only secretly say that he had worked hard. He knew that Yan Zhenitun and other family members who entered the Central Plains first had paid too much for the entire family. Yes, they were a generation of sacrifices, and even some people, such as the deceased Yan Xincheng, Yan Zianhong, or Yan Lingxiang who was about to become a Taoist, could not even see the fruits of the harvest, let alone enjoy them. Take Yan Zhenitun for example. He originally had the hope of entering the golden elixir, but years of fighting, coupled with his advanced age, also lost this possibility. And more importantly, Yan family members like Yan Zhenitun are destined to spend their future in darkness. Because they have done too many evil things and too many ugly things, they are assassins who kill without blinking an eye, are the objects of hatred by others, and are the existence that affects the positive reputation of a family and a force. They cannot represent the Yan family in public. Everyone in the outside world will only remember their bad deeds, and only the Yan family will remember their efforts and good deeds. For example, the information transmitted by Yan Zhenitun and other Longming County branches. With the help of the Zhang family, Yan Zhenitun has already established a firm foothold in Huangjiang County, and then slowly gained the trust of the Zhang family and mastered the intelligence network of Longming County. All kinds of information about the Kiwei Sword Pavilion's disciple recruiting ceremony have also been properly collected. Half a year later, in Taihong Mountain, Kiwei Sword Pavilion will accept 3 sword geniuses. Among them, the outstanding ones can even worship as the disciples of Yuanying's Henrun. This is equivalent to Yuanying Backer, which is something that no giant force dares to think about. Not only that, Yan Zhenitun also sent a lot of high-level exercises. These exercises are very critical. Because Yan Xingkang, the giant cultivator of the Yan family, lacks subsequent exercises, and is stuck in the early stage of giant and cannot make any progress. With the help of the former, Yan Xingkang can finally try to break through the shackles. The middle stage of giant and the early stage of giant are 2 concepts. More importantly, with the road, you can enjoy the future and look forward to the late giant and even Yuanying. The contribution made by Yan Zhenitun and others to the Yan family is very huge. It is no less than Yan Jiliang and Yan Jikun who left the fire for the Yan family. Yan Qingsun felt deeply relieved when he thought of this. His children have grown up. Then, he fixed his eyes and said firmly, Zhenitun, Xingkang, your mission is completed. Next, it's up to me. I will definitely enter the Kiwei Sword Pavilion and add another fire to the Yan family inheritance. The clan members have paid so much, Yan Qingsun can't let all these previous efforts go to waste. He must complete his mission and find the support of the Yuanying force. Otherwise, he will let down too many people. There are still half a year. Yan Qingsun understands that the next 6 months are crucial. The sword genius of Longming County can be said to have the highest mortality rate. Whether he can survive is still an unknown. Chapter 181, Two Veins Meet, Between Father and Son. Boom boom. The Yan family's flying boat stopped in a group of mountains, which was still some distance away from Huangjiang City in Jizhou. But the Yan family did not dare to let the boat get closer, because they were not here to travel, but to prosper the family, and it would be best if they could hide their whereabouts. At this moment, in the flying boat, Yan Zikang found Yan Qingxun. The latter had just finished practicing. Unlike other members of the clan, he did not have many important things to do. Now he only had one thing to do, which was to improve his strength as much as possible. Although Yan Qingxun's cultivation was low now, he was also a person who had condensed the pill. He vaguely noticed the change in Yan Zikang's momentum and was happy that the other party's cultivation had improved further. He saluted and said, "Ancestor." The latter looked at the young man in front of him and felt relieved. In fact, Yan Zikang had no children and was not married. He dedicated his life to the family. After nearly 2 years of getting along, he liked Yan Qingxun very much, who was very suitable for his character, and regarded him as his own son. Yan Zikang smiled faintly and said earnestly, "Qingxun, you are now the greatest hope of our Yan family. You must know the current situation in Longming County. Once your identity as a sword cultivator is exposed, what kind of fatal disaster will it bring? I dare not imagine it at all." He paused and continued, "The family is still very optimistic about your selection into Kiwai Sword Pavilion. I hope you can endure anything you encounter and behave like an ordinary key training cultivator until the selection begins." "Qingxun understands," the young man replied. He knew the family's concerns. Because the status of the Yan family in Xiaonan County and Longming County is completely different, after entering Jizhou, they will definitely be humble and low-key, and be ridiculed by others. And some young and energetic clansmen may be provoked to reveal flaws. Like Hyumo, it is easy to conflict with others in this way. This is also the reason why Hai Chongyang strongly hopes that someone in the Yan family can cure her. Of course, these will only appear in young people. Yan Qingxun has lived longer than Yan Zikang, so naturally there will be no such situation. Moreover, Yan Qingxun is also very clear about his family's advantages. That is, they are in the dark. All the forces in Longming County, including the Zhang family, do not know that the Yan family actually hides such a sword genius. When other forces are fighting for their lives, Yan Qingxun is beyond all danger. Not only will he not be collected by others for intelligence and targeted, he can also develop and practice well. The premise is to hide well. The Yan family does not completely trust the Zhang family, so at this time, the unanimous attitude of the family is to conceal it. Yan Zinitan even transferred people from other counties and states instead of looking for the main family for this reason. Yan Zikang is still relieved about Yan Qingxun's scheming. The maturity shown by this young man is far beyond others. Then, Yan Zikang took out a storage bag from his sleeve, handed it to the other party, and reminded him, "In order to be on the safe side, the family will also provide you with protection. There is a low-grade spiritual shield in this storage bag. I think you can use it with your current ability. In addition, there is a small teleportation talisman. As long as the Yuanying cultivator does not block time and space, you can teleport to 1,000 miles away at will. This is the last life-saving thing." The Yan family attaches great importance to this plan and is fully prepared. Success or failure depends on this one move, and there is no room for error. After hearing this, Yan Qingxun's eyes flickered, and he solemnly put away the storage bag and kept it close to his body. The small teleportation talisman is a top-level Zhuan-level talisman with a market price of more than 6 figures, and Xiaonan County does not have it yet. Yan Qingxun felt a strange feeling, as if the Yan family had returned to the time when they were still in Yingzhou. In order to guard against the Zhang family, the family also took care of Yan Lingyu in this way. Things are unpredictable, and it seems to have returned to the past. The flying boat stayed in the forest for a while. After confirming that there were no cultivators passing by, the Yan family members got off the boat collectively and waited there. There were not many clansmen left here. Because not all clansmen were sword cultivators, it was impossible to focus on only one Kiwai sword pavilion. Eggs cannot be put in one basket. Other key training clansmen have been sent to other counties and states. For example, the Hai family. Because the Hai family debuted with the soul, and the strongest force in the soul of the Central Plains, in addition to the Daqian royal family, is the Wuhan Hall. The Wuhan Hall is in Daluo County, So the Hai family and the Yan family had different directions at the beginning. In this matter, the two families could not take care of each other. The situation of Kunlun Gate is the same. The Yan family, about 10 clansmen, waited here for another 4 days. On a dark and windy night, several figures appeared in front of everyone. After removing the disguise, it was Yan Zhenitun, Yan Lingyu and other Yan family members who stayed in Huangjiang City. In this foreign land, both sides were excited to see their own clansmen. Yan Zikang and Yan Zhenitun hugged each other, and the latter's cold expression also relaxed at this moment, as if the hardships of these years had dissipated at this moment. "Thank you for your hard work, Zhenitun." The two brothers separated. Yan Zikang said so, and patted each other's back heavily. But Yan Zhenitun smiled and said, "Isn't this all for the family?" Then, he looked at the Yan family members who followed him, especially the young faces, and said with joy, "These are the outstanding descendants of our family. This girl is Yan Qinghan. She has grown up so much. Is she the sword genius you are talking about?" Third brother, when Yan Zhenitun went out, Yan Qinghan was less than 6 years old. But before he could get a response, he saw another figure in the crowd. Yan Zhenitun's eyes were fixed on Yan Qinghan, and he couldn't move away for a long time. His brows were getting more and more wrinkled, as if he was thinking about something. Yan Zikang thought that the other party was thinking about the identity of the boy, so he said, "This boy is from the Qingling County lineage, so you are naturally unfamiliar with him. His name is Yan Qinghan, and he is the leader of the younger generation of the Yan family this time. This kid is much better than us at the beginning." At the same time, Yan Qinghan also politely performed the junior salute. This made Yan Zhenitun come back to his senses, but his eyes kept drifting to the boy, and he was particularly strange in his heart. "Yan Qinghan, why does he give me a sense of familiarity and intimacy? It's really inexplicable." On the other side, Yan Qinghan's heart was also mixed with emotions. Unexpectedly, when he saw his son again in a blink of an eye, he already looked like this. Even if he hadn't sensed his breath, his father would not have recognized him. Not only Yan Zhenitun, he also saw Yan Lingyu. This fourth brother, who was originally strong and upright, became shriveled and hunched. If Yan Qinghan hadn't come to Huangjiang City this time, he might never see him again. When the tribe member's eyes were no longer on Yan Qinghan, he dared to close his eyes slightly and adjust his breath to prevent any flaws from being discovered. There were many people here who were familiar with Yan Lingyu. Yan Zikang and Yan Zhenitun also started to communicate at this moment. Chapter 182 The Yan Family's Plan, A Secret Operation. Yan Zikang and Yan Zhenitun, the two brothers, walked aside. The former asked, "Zhenitun, you are more familiar with Longming County than I am. What are your plans and arrangements for the future? How will our Yan family respond to the Huangjiang disciple recruiting ceremony in half a year?" Yan Zhenitun glanced at the clansman behind him and said solemnly, "The disciple recruiting ceremony is in Taeheung Mountain, which will eventually be a place full of right and wrong and bloody storms. Although our Yan family can hide safely now, we will have to move here sooner or later, and we will definitely fight with other forces at that time. However, our Yan family is still too weak. Once the disciple recruiting ceremony begins, all forces, whether openly or secretly, will flock to Taeheung Mountain, and the Yan family will be exposed to the public. This is extremely dangerous for the relatively weak Yan family." Yan Zikang frowned when he heard this. He also understood this truth. After all, he was the only one who supported his family. So, he asked, "These forces are fighting each other, and the geniuses are dying. The entire Longming County is suffering. Doesn't Kuiwei Jianj or Daqian care?" Yan Zhenitun waved his hand and sighed. "For what reason Daqian did not intervene, I don't know, but Kuiwei Jianj not only does not care, but even deliberately encourages this matter. In their view, these big forces select the protagonists of heaven and earth. Those who will die in the battle are not geniuses, but just passers-by in this world." Yan Zikan continued to ask, "Then what countermeasures do you have? Can you send the younger generation safely to Taeheung Mountain and join the Grand Hall, with the help of the Zhang family? The strength of the main family of the Zhang family is still extremely powerful. As long as Qinghan and Qingxun are allowed to mix into the opponent's team, they can be protected." Yan Zhenitun gave his own plan. He continued to explain, "Although the Zhang family is not a force in Longming County, they will definitely go to Taeheung Mountain anyway. From the internal transfers of the Zhang family in recent days, it can be seen that there are now 2 more Zhang family giant in realm cultivators in Huangjiang City, so, My idea is to let King Han and others become familiar to the Zhang family in the remaining half of the year. Yan Zikang pondered for a while and roughly understood what the other party meant. At the same time, he also had his own ideas, so he supplemented and improved the plan. As a dark assassin, it is somewhat abrupt for you to suddenly arrange 2 key training cultivators to join the team. We can do this. Let King Han, who has slightly inferior qualifications, act as a cover and show a certain talent in swordsmanship, so that the Zhang family knows that our Yan family also covets the position of senior apprentice, but has the will but not the power. Let the Zhang family see at a glance that King Han cannot enter Kiwei Sword Pavilion, thereby relaxing the other party's vigilance, so that our real genius Yan Qingxun can sneak into Changpeng. After listening to Yan Zingkang's plan, Yan Zinhun's eyes lit up and said in surprise, "Third brother, this plan is good. This plan is good." Now the relationship between the Yan family and the Zhang family is very delicate, between good and bad. If there really is a sword genius who can enter the Kiwei Sword Pavilion, the Zhang family is not willing to see it. Not to mention whether they will provide help. They may even assassinate the killer to check the development of our Yan family, but if the talent of this genius is not good enough, it is almost impossible to enter the Kiwei Sword Pavilion. In this case, the Zhang family is still willing to let us try. That's it. The 2 brothers agreed on this plan and felt that it would definitely work this time. Then, Yan Zinhun asked Yan Zingkang, "Third brother, you are new here, what do you need?" The latter pondered for a moment, his expression suddenly condensed, and replied, "There is nothing else, but the younger generation needs a trial place. This is King Sun's idea." Yan Zinhun immediately thought of Uncle Quijun who was killed by himself. He reacted. Indeed, Yan Qingxun has been on the flying boat for a year and a half. Even if he has made progress in swordsmanship, he has no place to practice, which will lead to unfamiliarity with the newly learned sword skills. Uncle Quijun risked his life to practice swordsmanship in the sword pool to prevent this from happening. The grand ceremony of accepting disciples has not yet arrived. Even if you increase your strength by a point, you can increase the possibility of success. This means that you can't just hide blindly. You must also make rapid progress in your strength while hiding yourself, so as not to fall behind others. This is a difficult task for the Yan family, but it must be carried out. If Yan Qingxun practiced in the wilderness, it would be fine. But in order to join the Zhang family's team to Teheran Mountain, he is destined to enter Huangjiang City and contact the Zhang family. Yan Zinhun frowned and said in deep agreement, "I will find a way to deal with this matter. Well, I'll leave it to you, my 12th brother." At the same time, on a mountain 500 miles away from where the Yan family stayed, a figure had been watching them, but no one, including the giant and cultivator Yan Zingkang, noticed it. Soon, the shadow disappeared. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at the Zhang family's secret room. The person was Zhang Ping, a mid-stage giant and cultivator of the Zhang family, and a cousin of Zhang Pinghu. It turned out that the Zhang family's main family sent not only 2 giant and cultivators to Huangjiang City, but 3. Zhang Ping was the hidden person, and his main task was to monitor the Yan family's every move. The Zhang family attached great importance to the Yan family. "Ninth brother, are you saying that Yan Zinhun met with his main family today? And the other party also had giant and cultivators involved?" Zhang Pinghu said with interest after listening to the report. "Yes, many people from the Yan family came this time, and they acted sneakily," Zhang Ping confirmed again. Although he was a mid-stage giant and cultivator and could follow Yan Zinhun very secretly, when Yan Zingkang, who was also a giant and cultivator, appeared, Zhang Ping had to restrain himself and could only watch from a distance, not knowing the specific situation of the Yan family. "What do you think, Huayan?" Zhang Pinghu asked the clan member beside him. The former still trusted Zhang Huayan's intelligence. Zhang Huayan guessed, the purpose of the Yan family's actions is easy to guess. If the Yan family wants to officially enter the Central Plains, they will definitely not be willing to live under our Zhang family for a long time. Then they have to find a backer, and what is the biggest backer in Longming County? It is Kiwei Sword Pavilion. It is obvious that the Yan family mobilized so many troops just to let their family members enter Kiwei Sword Pavilion, and now the situation in Longming County is chaotic. In order to protect their own genius, the Yan family is doing everything in secret. If the elders had not arranged people to follow in advance, even our Zhang family would have been fooled. Facing the former's point-by-point analysis, Zhang Pinghu nodded continuously. But he did not mean to be angry at the Yan family's actions, but had a playful look on his face. Huayan is right. The more cautious the Yan family is, the greater their confidence. Ping. Thank you for your hard work in investigating, but don't alarm the enemy. I want to see what kind of genius the Yan family hides. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Testing and Pulling. Huangjiang City is located in the south of Longming County, surrounded by mountains on two sides and a river on one side. The surrounding mountains are occupied by major forces, and almost every spiritual vein has a force with a golden core Taoist tradition. At the same time, Huangjiang City has a population of tens of millions, with developed transportation, and monks from all over the country often travel. After parting with Yan Xingkang from Keshuling, Yan Zhenun took some of his clansmen and prepared to return to their residence in Huangjiang City. However, he met a familiar person on the way. Judging from his appearance, this person was a few years younger than the former, with a heroic face, wearing a snow-white Taoist robe, and a green chrysanthemum tattooed on his chest, which was the family emblem of the Zhang family. Brother Zhang, the person in front of Yan Zhenun was Zhang Xialing, who had a lifelong friendship with him. However, what the former did not know was that Zhang Xialing had received news from the clan and was waiting here specifically to see the situation of the Yan family members. Brother Yan, I just happened to find you to reminisce about the past. Zhang Xialing smiled with an unexpected smile and approached Yan Zhenun. Nowadays, the relationship between the Yan and Zhang families is still close, and they help each other, which has led to deeper brotherhood between Yan Zhenun and Zhang Xialing. Therefore, it is understandable that the latter would come to Yan Zhenun specifically to chat. Brother Yan, who are these people? Perhaps Zhang Xialing glanced at the unfamiliar faces and asked with a little curiosity. Yan Zhenun also had a frank face, as if it was a normal chat between brothers, and replied, these people are all from my Yan family who were seconded. As you know, my Yan family suffered a lot of losses in the last mission. Several people need to rest for a while, and in order to stabilize the basic situation of Huangjiang City, we also asked for people from the clan. Oh? Brother Yan, I'm a little curious. This girl is so young, she should only be practicing key cultivation. Is there any special talent and purpose that will let her come to help? Zhang Xialing narrowed his eyes and looked at Yan Qinghan, who was dressed in plain clothes behind Yan Zhenun. Thinking of his father's instructions in his heart, he kept guessing, so he asked like this. Yan Zhenun was secretly amused in his heart. Their Yan family just wanted to divert the other party's attention to Yan Qinghan. But it can't be too deliberate. It must be done in a logical and natural way. Yan Zhenun smiled helplessly. Our Yan family is not as good as your Zhang family. We only have a few foundation-building cultivators. It is impossible to send all of them here, so we can only let some capable key training clan members participate. There is no other way. Then, he turned around and waved to Yan Qinghan and said, Qinghan, come here and say hello to Senior Zhang. Hello, Senior Zhang. Yan Qinghan was very well behaved. Zhang Xialing looked up and down at the exquisite woman in front of him. He could vaguely feel that there was a trace of sword intent in the slender body opposite. Sword cultivators often emit sword intent, but those with strong strength can hide it well. Yan Qinghan is a key training cultivator. No matter how she hides her sword energy, she can't escape Zhang Xialing's eyes. It seems that this is the sword genius of the Yan family. A light flashed in the depths of Zhang Xialing's eyes, and his guess was almost confirmed. Although he didn't know how talented this girl was in swordsmanship, judging from the sword intent that escaped, it was not low. Zhang Xialing once again admired his father Zhang Huaiyan, who was able to catch the Yan family's plot from clues. But at this moment, he couldn't make it public, so he decided to go back and inform the elders and wait for them to make a decision. Okay, then as a senior, I should also express my gratitude. Zhang Xialing smiled and took out 2 exquisite jade bottles from his sleeves. He urged his magic power and smoothly delivered them to Yan Qinghan's hands. The latter naturally thanked him respectfully again. Yan Zhenun, who was standing aside, realized that Zhang Xialing had been tricked by the Yan family, so he decided to add some more ingredients to the other party to make the Zhang family's thinking completely wrong. Brother Zhang, you also know that my Yan family has many enemies. For the safety of the younger generation of the clan, can the Zhang family provide a comfortable place, preferably outside the city of Huangjiang? Yan Lingyu showed a trace of worry. Yan Lingyu is a person who is extremely good at managing micro-expressions, and as the son of the former, Yan Lingyu naturally learned the essence of his father. The emotions he deliberately revealed were indeed captured by Zhang Xialing just right. This is natural. You have so many enemies, and it is also related to my Zhang family. Your safety will be guaranteed by the Zhang family. After Zhang Xialing finished speaking, he told Yan Lingyu the location of a secret house and said that it was the sphere of influence of the Zhang family and was absolutely safe. The two chatted for a while, and then each separated on the grounds that they had important matters. After the Yan family disappeared from sight, Zhang Xialing turned to a dark corner and sent a message to the hidden clansman, asking him to return to the clan quickly and inform them of the situation. The Zhang family was indeed kind-hearted. The secret house they provided was located in the deep mountains, surrounded by trees and extremely hidden. Moreover, the house was fully equipped with various facilities, including alchemy rooms, exercise rooms, and Kigen training rooms. Under the entire secret house, there was also a ground-level formation that gathered spiritual energy. The cultivation speed of the cultivators in it was more than 3 times that of the outside world. After entering the secret house, Yan Lingyu set up another sleight of hand so that the outside world could not see the situation inside. This formation was learned from the Zhang family. Therefore, Yan Lingyu himself knew that they had no intention of hiding their current situation from the Zhang family from the beginning. Looking at the main informed clansmen in front of him, Yan Lingyu solemnly transmitted to them, "Now, the first step of diverting the attention of the Zhang family has been achieved, and then King Sun will be allowed to sneak in." Yan Xingpeng, Yan Qingsun and some other clansmen did not follow Yan Lingyu into Huangjiang City at this moment. Instead, they waited outside for a while. This was also to reduce the attention of the Zhang family as much as possible. Then, Yan Lingyu looked at Yan Qinghan and said earnestly, "Qinghan, your acting skills are crucial. You must convince the Zhang family, but you must not perform too well and let the Zhang family take action against you. Therefore, you have to grasp the scale yourself. Xiang Wang will teach you how to do it later. It is only our own guess that the Zhang family will take action against us. After all, if we climb up to Jianzhi, they can also benefit from being on good terms with us, so it is possible that they will not only not hurt you, but also protect you." The Yan family just chose to stay in the dark and set up the other party as an imaginary enemy, just in case. In fact, Yan Qinghan is not a sacrifice. The Yan family also hopes that he can enter Kiwei Jianzhi, and the former is not without this possibility. If 2 members of the Yan family become disciples of Jianzhi, the possibility of the family's rise will be even greater. Yan Qinghan raised her eyebrows slightly, pursed her lips, and nodded solemnly. Qinghan understands. Chapter 184 Zhang Huaiyan, go there in person. Another month passed, and the time for Kuiwei Jianzhi's disciple recruiting ceremony was getting closer. Huangjiang City. A group of foundation-building monks entered the city one after another. They all looked a little embarrassed, and many of them were more or less injured. The leader was Zhang Huaiyan of the Zhang family. His Taoist robe was also in tatters, and his face was a little burnt. More importantly, the clothes and flesh on his legs were blurred. It seemed that he had just experienced a life and death struggle not long ago. The Zhang family returned to their own house in a dusty state. When Zhang Huaiyan stepped into the gate, his son Zhang Xialing came up to him and asked with a worried look on his face, "Dad, are you okay? How is your injury? Do you need the clan to prepare healing elixirs?" The former shook his head and took his son into the inner room. After sitting down, he took 2 more elixirs with powerful spiritual energy, then waved his hand and said, "Nothing serious." Then, his face became serious and he said in a solemn tone, "This time when I went back to my clan, the higher-ups assigned the Zhang family another mission. Many clan members died, even the ancestor Ping was killed in it. The Zhang family can stand in the central plains, and can branch out and extend its tentacles to various counties and states. Of course, it is not just because of their own abilities. Just like the Yan family surrendered to the Zhang family, the Zhang family also relied on a force. And the force that made the Zhang family surrender was at least a Yuanying Taoist sect. However, the world does not know which Taoist sect it is." Zhang Huaiyan felt a rapid recovery of the injury on his leg, but his grim expression did not ease, but frowned even more. He looked at Zhang Xialing and said earnestly, "According to the intelligence above, this time the disciple recruiting ceremony is not only held by Kuiwei Jianzhi, but by 18 top forces at the same time. This is unprecedented in thousands of years. It is both an opportunity and a crisis. It depends on what our Zhang family can gain from it. Xialing, you must be prepared, understood? The latter was stunned and replied. Then, Zheng Huayin suddenly thought of something and asked again, Xialing, how is the Yan family, the Zheng family, or Zheng Huayin, attaches great importance to the Yan family, even more than their own family members. But there are only so many cultivators in the family. Each of them has important tasks and also needs to practice in seclusion. It is impossible to spend too much time monitoring the Yan family. Moreover, Zheng Ping, the only free giant and master, has died in a family mission, so there are only some foundation-building cultivators left to keep an eye on the Yan family. But fortunately, the Yan family is now in the secret house given by the Zheng family, so they can better monitor it. This task naturally fell to Zheng Xialing. After all, he was good friends with Yan Zinun, and the two of them had closer contacts, which would not arouse suspicion from others. Zheng Xialing thought for a moment and replied, we used the spying spirit tool and found that Yan Qinghan did have a talent for swordsmanship. She had already developed a sword intent, and a profound artistic conception of the heavy mountain sword intent. She was also calm and her cultivation had reached the peak of the key training period, but it's still not enough. According to January's observation, although this girl has made amazing progress, her strength is slightly inferior to that of the deceased uncle Kui Jun. Her chance of entering Kui Wei Sword Pavilion is very slim. I wanted to take action, but seeing this situation, I'd better wait for you, father, to come back and let you decide. Zheng Xialing's eyes relaxed a little. No, but his father Zheng Huayin denied it out loud, saying it was unbelievable. He muttered to himself, although Yan Zinun looks timid on the surface, his inner confidence cannot be concealed, especially after Yan Qinghan arrived. The former seemed to have seen the light, and the temperament he unconsciously exuded became more sufficient. In this situation, how could the Yan family only have a slim chance? In my opinion, the Yan family must have at least 60% confidence in this disciple recruiting ceremony, so they would not dispatch all their own giant and cultivators like this. Zheng Huayin always felt that the Yan family was hiding something, and that Yan Qinghan was too weak. So weak that the Zheng family didn't even need to think about him. Zheng Huayin's pupils shrank slightly, looking at the parent-child, and asked in a low voice, are you sure that all the other parties' strength has been revealed? Have you noticed any other suspicious people in the Yan family? Compared with his father's nervousness, Zheng Xialing was much more relieved. I think the Yan family is not hiding anything. They even hired a sword cultivator for the girl to teach her one-on-one. According to intelligence, this person is the one who has been on the sword path for the longest time in the Yan family. His name is Yan Xian Wang. Moreover, every time they teach and practice, they choose to go to extremely secluded places. They almost slipped out right under our noses. His meaning is very clear. The Yan family is not a sword family. The strongest sword cultivator in the family is only in the middle stage of foundation building. Although this seems pitifully poor to others, it is the only thing the Yan family can show off. Therefore, the person taught by Yan Xianwang must be the most outstanding sword genius in the Yan family. There will be no other people behind the scenes. It is impossible that there is no one to teach the genius. After listening to his son's words, Zheng Huayin's expression did not change at all. Instead, he kept rubbing his hands and fell into deep thought. Seeing his father like this, he was still worried, so Zheng Xialing advised, Dad, after all, the Yan family is a weak force from a remote place. It's already very good that they can produce a decent talent. The possibility of being selected by Kui Wei Jianj is impossible, huh? Zheng Huayin's eyes flashed, and he said faintly, do you really think so? Zheng Xialing replied, yes, do other members of the clan think so too? That's right, even the giant and Ancestor doesn't think highly of the Yan family, Pa. Zheng Huayin patted the documents beside him, stood up, and raised a weird smile at the corner of his mouth. The character of the Yan family is right here. The more you think they have no problem, the more they must have problems. This Yan Qinghan's various performances are too much like a cover. This is what the Yan family threw out to attract our attention. They must be hiding something we don't know. Xialing. I told you that after the battle in which the Yan family robbed and killed Kui Junshu, you had to put the Yan family on a higher level than the Zheng family. Then, Zheng Huayin stretched out his hand and asked the other party, give me all the information about the Yan family in Huangjiang City. I want to see it myself. I don't trust the things you collected. He suddenly interrupted himself and said something else. At this point, Zhang Xiling was only confused and puzzled, and at the same time felt that his father was making a fuss. Although Zhang Xiling could admit that his brother Yan Zinitun was indeed a character. But the entire Yan family was still mediocre and mediocre. Whether it was people or laws, they were far behind the Zhang family. Zhang Xiling didn't understand why his father valued the other party so much. I even went so far as to make something up out of nothing. Sorry, my family was busy during the day and I drank too much at night, so I didn't update yesterday. I usually don't drink, but I couldn't help it yesterday. I'm so sorry. Chapter 185, Going to Practice Swordplay, Black-Bearded Tiger. The secret house given to the Yan family by the Zhang family is called Hengshui Villa. It is located in the northern mountainous area of Huangjiang City. It is surrounded by 8,000 miles of primeval forests, where monsters often appear, and there are many caves. Outside Hengshui Villa, in the dense forest about 500 miles away, Yan Qingxun was looking at the scenery in front of him as if nothing had happened. The mountains are high and the water is warm, the birds are singing, the flowers are fragrant, and the monkeys are crying. The sunlight is blocked through layers of leaves, and only a few parts are sprinkled on his face, but it renders a middle-aged and slightly vicissitudes of life. Half a month ago, seeing that the tribesmen were fine and did not arouse the suspicion of the Zhang family, Yan Qingxun also took the opportunity to enter the surveillance of the Zhang family. In order to hide himself, he disguised himself as a middle-aged man. With his slightly immature appearance being covered up, coupled with his already profound knowledge, ordinary people really couldn't tell that he was actually a young man. Of course, this is also assisted by the ingenious and magical artifact. Thousand-faced illusion jade, a top-level spiritual weapon, can help hide the aura of a cultivator, making it impossible for people to detect their true cultivation, giving people an ordinary feeling. Even a giant and master can hardly see the clues, unless there are special tools to assist or specialize in insight techniques. And the Yan family spent countless spiritual stones to obtain this spiritual weapon. But without it, the Yan family did not dare to let Yan Qingxun enter the Zhang family. Fortunately, everything is going in a good direction. The Zhang family has obviously been blinded by the sleight of hand. Their eyes have always been on Yan Qinghan, and they have never moved away. Even now, even the Yan family can feel that the other party has shown contempt, and they are not so concerned about Yan Qinghan and the entire Yan family. Yan Qingxun shifted his gaze to a pair of old and young. They were Yan Qinghan and Yan Xianwang, the foundation-building sword cultivator of the Yan family. Yan Xianwang was the old man of the Yan family who discovered Yan Qingxun in the Sutra Pavilion. Because of his identity as a sword cultivator, he was brought to the Central Plains by the Yan family to develop, and Yan Qinghan was specially taught the practice of swordsmanship. As for why Yan Qingxun was not taught, this is because the latter does not need it. The Zhang family would never have thought that Yan Qingxun, a key training cultivator, had a swordsmanship attainment far superior to the foundation-building sword cultivator. This is also the reason why they could not find a second sword cultivator. Because Yan Qingxun has a natural sword body, he does not need others to teach him experience, and he can cultivate various sword techniques and sword intentions by himself. And why Yan Qingxun is here at this moment, one is to pretend to take care of the accompanying person, and another reason is to control Yan Qinghan's practice. He is also half a teacher of the latter. Yan Qingxun looked at Yan Qinghan, whose Chongshan sword technique was becoming more and more mature, and nodded. The other party's swordsmanship has been formed, and his guidance is not needed in the short term. Next, he can concentrate on his own practice. Unlike Yan Qinghan, Yan Qingxun mainly focuses on the application of swordsmanship, rather than comprehension and expansion. Therefore, what he needs more is practical experience. This is also what Yan Qingxun has been doing in recent days. He got up and went back to the secret house, where he found Yan Zinitun. "Are you going to the Wanling Mountains again?" the latter said. "Yes," Yan Qingxun said firmly. "Well, I'll let Elder Lingzhang accompany you." In order to prevent others from knowing his identity as a sword cultivator, he naturally tried to reduce direct confrontations with other cultivators as much as possible. If he wanted to improve his actual combat skills, he could only choose monsters to hone himself. Wanling Mountains is a good choice. It is on the other side of Huangjiang City, almost close to the neighboring Baran County, not the location of Longming County, covering an area of 100,000 miles. There are a lot of monsters and spirits in it. It is a good place for cultivators to try and find opportunities. Moreover, There is a teleportation array leading to this place in Huangjiang City, which is convenient for travel, and the distance is not as far as Hua County, and the price is relatively affordable. Because of Yan Qing'un's attraction, Yan Qingxun went to the outskirts of Wanling Mountain several times, and it was relatively safe. He is also quite familiar with the Bingpo sword that he just mastered. In a dense forest somewhere in Wanli Mountains. Roar, a deafening tiger roar echoed in the forest, startling birds and small animals. This was a tiger covered with the black and white stripes. It was the size of a carriage, well-proportioned, solid, and agile. Its pair of dark green tiger eyes, coupled with vertical black pupils, made people feel creepy. This was a black-bearded tiger, about the 3rd level, equivalent to a human cultivator in the early stage of foundation building. But this king of the forest only wanted to get away from the fierceness in front of the tiger. Not far away from it, there was a thin figure holding a long sword. The black-bearded tiger felt an invincible aura from the other party. The black-bearded tiger, which was faintly spiritual, knew that if it didn't leave quickly, its tiger skin would be stripped. Yan Qingxun looked at the black-bearded tiger indifferently, and thought of something else in his heart. At the beginning, the Yan family also had 2 small white-striped tigers. They were obtained by Yan Lingyu in Yu County. Because of this, the Yan family fought with the He family for more than 10 years, but they also gained a lot from it, including interpersonal relationships and various spiritual materials and objects. One of the 2 little white tigers died in the Battle of Fumin, and the other survived. After 130 years of growth, it also became the pillar of the Yan family. It is now a 4th-level monster and sits in Kaishiling. The last time I returned to the tribe, Yan Qingxun had seen it once. It is worthy of being a descendant of the monster clan with the blood of the mythical beast white tiger. Its temperament is not comparable to the black-bearded tiger in front of it. Want to escape? Yan Qingxun held the sword in one hand and snorted coldly. At this moment, he has taken off his disguise and revealed his true face. This not only allows him to better adapt to his body and swordsmanship, but also avoids the risk of the Thousand Faces illusion body jade being destroyed in battle. It is hard to imagine that a 3rd-level monster would be chased by a key training cultivator. The young man pushed with one hand, and the Xiao Divine Sword Talisman array was laid out. 5 rotating sword talismans emitted a faint light of different colors, which made his sword energy more sharp, as if he would be cut off in an instant if he got close. Wu feeling the changes behind and the breath drifting over, the black-beard tiger was furious and ran faster. But Yan Qingxun didn't give it a chance to escape. The sword light flashed, and the autumn water sword carried a strong autumn feeling, and finally fell in front of the black-beard tiger, forcing it to stop. How could 4 legs outrun the sword energy? After all, the fierce beast was a fierce beast. After knowing that it couldn't run away, it immediately turned back, revealing its sharp fangs. Its tiger teeth bulged, full of cruelty, and wanted to fight to the death. And Yan Qingxun was waiting for it to do this. If the black-beard tiger kept running away, it would be difficult for him to test the sword. The huge tiger leaned back and lowered its body, its claws slightly bent, and the next moment, it shot out like an arrow, rushing towards the human cultivator. The black-bearded tiger was a 3rd-level monster, and its instantaneous explosive power was still considerable. It was just that the beast's instincts made it unconsciously want to escape from the opponent. Monsters more or less have this ability, so they can survive in the perilous world of cultivation. Chapter 186, Ice Soul Sword, Killing the Tiger Monster. The huge and imposing tiger shadow flew towards Yan Qingxun. The only sound in his ears was the roar of the tiger and the rustling of the surrounding trees blown by the spiritual energy. The young man was not in a hurry, his expression was calm, the source of his spiritual body was opened, and a deep blue vortex was generated in his body. Then, he raised the Zuanqi Shuling sword in his hand, injected mana, and a layer of white mist instantly attached to the sword body. Then he swung the long sword while moving, and in an instant the air trembled rapidly as if it was frozen. This sword is not the Ice Soul Sword, but the Frost Sword. The former is a fusion of 3 sword moves, just like the Autumn Water Sword. These 3 sword moves are derived from 3 top-level yellow-level sword techniques, namely the Frost Sword Technique, the Solitary Plum Sword Technique, and the Soul-Breaking Sword Technique. These 3 sword techniques were not all collected in Sheonan County. The latter 2 were snapped up by the Yan family at an auction when they passed through the Central Plains. Compared with the remote Sheonan, the Central Plains is indeed more developed, and the skills and secrets here are generally a level higher than those in Sheonan. This is also the reason why the Central Plains cultivators are stronger and go further on the road of cultivation. And this is why small families like the Yan family and the Hai family are trying their best to enter the Central Plains area. Therefore, in Yan Qingxun's estimation, this Bingpo sword will be half a point stronger than the Kyushu sword, and it is his strongest means of attack now. Moreover, with a spiritual weapon Zuanqi Shuling sword in hand, although as a key training cultivator, he cannot fully exert the performance of the spiritual weapon, but the material of the spiritual weapon itself is still there, and its toughness is still there, so it will not be like what happened in the Yan family's family competition. The black iron sword could not withstand the pressure and burst. In other words, the Zuanqi Shuling sword can truly exert Yan Qingxun's sword power. Sizzle. The metal sword intersects with the sharp tiger claws, making a harsh sound. Yan Qingxun only felt a huge force coming from the spiritual sword, sweeping his whole body, making him unconsciously step back 3 steps. There is still a clear difference in strength between human cultivators and monsters. But the black-bearded tiger was not feeling well at the moment. One of its claws was already stained with white frost. No matter how it shook it off, it could not dissolve it, and its combat power dropped by 10%. Yan Qingxun shook his right hand holding the sword lightly, and when the numbness dissipated, he struck out 2 swords again, Lonely Plum and Broken Soul. In the past month, he had been in and out of the Wanling Mountains no less than 5 times, and each time he chose a weaker 3rd-level monster as the test object. Because the sword manuals of the secondary condensed swordsmanship, such as the Ice Soul Sword and the Autumn Water Sword, were compiled by Yan Qingxun himself, even with the invincible deduction of the natural sword body, it was not as fast as other condensed sword moves. Therefore, Yan Qingxun often used the Frost Sword to adapt first, and then used the Ice Soul Sword. Moreover, the time left for him to test was not sufficient. This all depended on the Xiao Divine Sword Talisman formation. This formation can bring Yan Qingxun's overall strength to the same level as a 3rd-level monster, but the spiritual energy it contains will be consumed over time. Once it is all consumed, it will have to be taken back into the body to nourish and recharge. During this stage, Yan Qingxun's strength will drop a lot, and he will not be able to fight against a 3rd-level monster. In a sense, he must fight quickly. Without using the Ice Soul Sword and the Autumn Water Sword, Yan Qingxun and the black-bearded tiger fought back and forth for half an incense stick of time. During this period, the monster became more and more courageous. It found that the human cultivator in front of it was not as strong as it imagined. Perhaps it had made a wrong judgment based on its instinct. As a monster with low intelligence, it naturally could not detect that Yan Qingxun was using it to practice swordsmanship, and only thought that the opponent was not strong enough. Therefore, the black-bearded tiger's eyes became more fierce and cruel, and its thoughts changed from a desperate fight to hunting prey. It's time to try the Ice Soul Sword. I should be able to fully master it in today's battle. Yan Qingxun noticed that there was not much energy left in the sword talisman. If the full power is used, the Xiao Divine Sword Talisman formation can last for about 1 stick of incense. Although there is still half an incense stick of time to consume, Yan Qingxun never lets the sword talisman energy run out completely. He limits himself to 20%. At least 20% of the sword talisman energy must be retained. Yan Qingxun must spare some energy to prevent accidents. When the energy is about to be exhausted, he must either resolve the battle or evacuate immediately. It is impossible to make his weak state completely public. Thinking to this point, Yan Qingxun's momentum suddenly changed, and the whole person was as cold as the cold wind. Just a glance, his eyes seemed to be cut by a sharp blade, stinging extremely. The black-bearded tiger's forward posture suddenly stopped, and then it wanted to escape again without looking back. But this time the boy would not give it a chance to escape. The same Kyushu sword blocked the road. Then, he raised his arm slightly, touched the ground with his toes, leaned forward, and pointed the sword to the sky. The pale sword light sank into the black-bearded tiger at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. The latter instinctively wanted to resist with his strong tiger claws, but was shocked to find that it was useless. The Ice Soul Sword was not aimed at the opponent's body, but at the soul. As the sword light disappeared, the black-bearded tiger remained motionless in its original position. There were only some light wounds on its body from the previous confrontation, but its originally dark green tiger eyes had dimmed. If his tiger soul was manifested at this moment, it would be found that it had completely frozen. After the sword was finished, the tiger demon bowed its head. But Yan Qingxun did not immediately end the battle phase. Instead, he began to clear the surroundings. The familiar dark green viscous liquid overflowed from the body surface, surging around, crushing everything in sight. Although Hengshui Yanli is no longer Yan Qingxun's main means, its quality is there. It is still useful to deal with the aftermath and play auxiliary. After the tiger demon's corpse was cut and installed, the surrounding environment was also destroyed beyond recognition. In order to prevent himself from being exposed, Yan Qingxun must clean up all traces of the battle, especially those sword marks. His swordsmanship is somewhat special. Moreover, the entire Longming County is very sensitive to sword cultivators now. If someone discovers that there is a mysterious sword cultivator in the Wanling Mountains, it will definitely not be a good thing for Yan Qingxun. After everything was settled, Yan Qingxun turned and went deep into the dense forest. It has been 5 days since he came out, and it is time to choose to return to the city. The scenery was intertwined, and an old figure appeared in front of Yan Qingxun. The person was Yan Lingyu, who had been protecting the former. The Yan family could not let Yan Qingxun go to the trial alone, so there was naturally a guard. This person's identity is particular, and people like Yan Xinun who are paid special attention by the Zhang family cannot bear it. And Yan Xingkang is not good to go in person. He has been avoiding the supervision of the surrounding giant and cultivators. So in the end, Yan Lingyu was sent to protect Yan Qingxun. Although he is only in the late stage of foundation building, his strength is not bad, just slightly weaker than Yan Xinun. Besides, the young man still has a small teleportation talisman, so he can leave safely if something unexpected happens. Elder, Qingxun has finished the trial and can go back, Yan Qingxun said respectfully when he came to the other party. Yet, looking at the younger clansman who seemed familiar to him, Yan Lingyu somehow recalled a figure in his memory. Chapter 187: A Sudden Visit, the Zhang family's test. Old Master Yan Lingyu took Yan Qingxun and flew into the air, heading for the teleportation location. The so-called flying with a sword was not something Yan Qingxun could do at the moment. In the void, Yan Lingyu praised without reservation, "Qingxun, your strength is really exaggerated. You are only at the 8th level of key training, not even the 9th level, but you have the strength to kill a 3rd-level monster alone. You are stronger than the old man of the Lingyu clan." Even though he had been out for trials several times, Yan Lingyu still felt incredible about the young man's methods. Key training and foundation building beyond the level had never been heard of in Xiaonan County. Although the former was blessed by the formation, it was not something that ordinary cultivators could do. Yan Qingxun smiled appropriately. "I also hope to become a strong man like the old ancestor of Lingyu, improve my own strength, protect the family, and make the Yan family create glory again." He said this sincerely, and therefore it could better touch Yan Lingyu, who was also a member of the Yan family. "Good boy." The old man looked pleased, and his good impression of Yan Qingxun was beyond words. Let's ask, who doesn't want the younger generation of the family who is both talented and has good character? When the two returned to the secret house outside Huangjiang City, they found that the atmosphere of the Yan family at this moment was different from before. There were many more Zhang family members. And Zhang Huaiyin was among them, and he was talking to Yan Xinun. The Zhang family found the Yan family on the pretext of preparing for the apprentice ceremony. Yan Xinun looked at the gray-haired old man who was talking in front of him, and his heart sank, and he suddenly felt something strange. Under normal circumstances, the Zhang family assigned tasks to the Yan family through Zhang Ziling. After all, he and Yan Xinun were good friends, and they were of the same generation, so they could talk together. At the same time, the Zhang family did this to prevent the Yan family from knowing their deeper deployment. So, in fact, Yan Xinun rarely saw Zhang Huaiyin, and only met him once when he intercepted Kui Junshu. The two were not familiar with each other, so it was difficult to inquire. He only knew that he was Zhang Ziling's biological father and the real commander of the Zhang family in Huangjiang City. Many decisions of the Zhang family were not made by Zhang Pinghu, the Golden Elixir Master, but by Zhang Huaiyin. Therefore, although he did not know much, Yan Xinun still felt that the other party was a ruthless man with deep foresight. The Yan family rarely moved under the other party's nose to prevent any clues. This time, Zhang Huaiyin came with such a large force, which was unexpected by Yan Xinun, and gave him a bad premonition in his heart. "Xinun, nephew, this time I came to your Yan family to conspire for a big thing," Zhang Huaiyin said with a gentle smile. "Senior Zhang, just say it, and my Yan family will do it," Yan Xinun replied. although the two have the same cultivation, and the latter may even be stronger. But their status is different. Yan Lingyu or the entire Yan family cannot face each other directly. They must be slightly lower. Yan Lingyu said this to listen to the other party's thoughts, so as to speculate on the other party's plot and whether it will involve the current situation of the Yan family. My dear nephew Lingyu, you also know that Kui Wei Jianji's disciple recruiting ceremony is coming soon. It will take less than half a year. This ceremony is destined to rewrite the history of the entire Longming County. Some forces will rise because of it, while others will decline. In order to prevent accidents, my Zhang family must naturally prepare in advance. Zhang Huayin spoke slowly, word by word, and kept pacing back and forth in the pavilion, and his eyes never fell on Yan Lingyu. This made the latter feel very bad and the pressure doubled. Yan Lingyu noticed that, or rather, Zhang Huayin did not hide himself at all, and wanted to search for something. Yan Lingyu was sure that the Zhang family must have heard some rumors and were testing him. The other party came this time not only for the disciple recruiting ceremony, but also for other meanings. However, at this moment, he had no idea what had happened. So he could only act as carefully as possible. Zhang Huayin continued, there is another sword genius in my Zhang family who wants to enter Kui Wei Sword Pavilion, so I need your help to gather intelligence and remove the obstacles on the way to Teherong Mountain. Not all sword cultivators in the Zhang family will rob and kill. After all, if you rob and kill other people's geniuses, if your identity is exposed, it is equivalent to making enemies with a faction to which the genius belongs. In the cultivation world, it is better to resolve enemies than to create them. The killing of Uncle Kui Jun was completely because the Kui family itself was at odds with the Zhang family. Although it was impossible to take action, the corresponding intelligence still had to be collected, and at the same time, the family's own defenses were also properly taken. I am rational, but this does not mean that if there are muggles in other forces, they will kill anyone they see. My dear nephew Lingyu, you also know that my Zhang family does not have enough manpower in Jizhao, and we will need the help of your Yan family. Zhang Huayin narrowed his eyes and said, I heard that many new members of your Yan family have come recently, and there are many capable people among them. My Zhang family is ready to mobilize all of them, but before that, they have to undergo an investigation. After these words came out, Yan Lingyu realized what Zhang Huayin was up to. Just as the Yan family originally thought, the other party would definitely know that they wanted to use the Zhang family to enter Kui Wei Jianji. After all, this is the territory of the Zhang family, and the other party is strong enough. Therefore, the Yan family prepared the cover of Yan Qinghun. But now it seems that the Zhang family has not taken the bait. Or rather, Zhang Huayin has not taken the bait. The meaning of his words is very clear. I know that you need the escort of the Zhang family to enter Teherong Mountain safely, so I will give you this opportunity directly, but I don't believe that your Yan family only has Yan Qinghun. I want to use this inspection to find the genius hidden behind the scenes. Yan Lingyu broke out in a cold sweat on his back. He didn't know what went wrong with his family, which put Yan Qinghun at risk of being exposed. He also didn't know what the other party was thinking, and whether it was good or bad to put Yan Qinghun out. Even the Zhang family's move was just a test, and they didn't know anything else. All of this required Yan Lingyu to react in a very short time. Although there were many things that were unknown, there were 2 points that could be confirmed at this stage. First, the Zhang family didn't know about Yan Qinghun's situation yet. At most, they just suspected that the Yan family had another person hiding, otherwise the other party would have taken action long ago, and why would they be going around in circles here? Second, the Zhang family still needed the Yan family, and Yan Qinghun was already safe, because the other party didn't tear their faces immediately, and didn't have the idea of killing the wrong person rather than letting him go. Therefore, the Yan family still had bargaining chips. At the same time, this was indeed an opportunity for the Yan family. The Yan family had always hoped that Yan Qinghun would join the team heading to Teherong Mountain. Now that the opportunity had come, as long as they could seize it and not reveal any flaws, Yan Qinghun's safety could also be guaranteed. In an instant, Yan Lingyu had 1,000 thoughts in his mind. Then I will call out all the clansmen and let Senior Zhang see if they can do the job. Yan Lingyu straightened his back and said so. Chapter 188 Reaction, Response. Dad, what's the situation? Zhang Xiling asked after returning to the Zhang family's mansion. Although he didn't think the Yan family had anything to hide, he was a little curious. His father Zhang Huayin didn't rush to reply, but took out a booklet and recalled every bit of contact with the Yan family, not missing a single trace. This booklet records the information about the Yan family, especially those who appeared later. Yan Zian Wang, Yan Zian Zong, Yan Qing'an, Lu Yijin, Yan Ruping, Yan Ruai. Zheng Huayin muttered a few names while looking at them. Then, a gleam of light suddenly flashed in his eyes, and his eyes fell on the information about Yan Ruai. He pointed at the other person's portrait and said suddenly, "There is something wrong with this Yan Ruai." Following his son's somewhat puzzled gaze, Zheng Huayin explained, "This Yan Ruai is too mediocre. Whether it is his appearance or his character, he has no characteristics, and his cultivation is low, only the 9th level of key training. There are only 2 key training people in the Yan family, one is him, and the other is that Yan Qing'an. The others are all foundation building cultivators, and they have special abilities. Even Yan Qing'an is a sword genius and has the opportunity to enter Kiwei Sword Pavilion, but this Yan Ruai is abnormally ordinary," Zheng Huayin said, and the other person's appearance emerged in his mind. He had seen the latter with his own eyes. He was just an ordinary key training cultivator, the type that would be lost in the crowd. If the Yan family could see Zheng Huayin's thoughts, they would be very surprised, because Yan Ruai was Yan Qing'an's pseudonym. Zheng Huayin's eyes flickered as he continued to analyze. The Yan family came to the Central Plains with great fanfare, so it is impossible for them to bring useless people with them. Yan Ruai just acted as if he was dispensable. Moreover, every time Yan Ruai went out on a mission, there was a late-stage foundation building cultivator from the Yan family following him, regardless of whether the mission was dangerous or difficult. What does this mean? It means that the Yan family attaches great importance to him. They want to protect him from the bottom of their hearts, so they would do such a thing and would follow him at any time because they are worried that he might have problems. After hearing his father's words, Zheng Xiling came back to his senses and thought carefully along the former's train of thought. This Yan Ruai was too ordinary, so ordinary that it seemed as if he deliberately wanted to reduce the attention of others to him. Such people often hide a lot of secrets. But then he thought again, Zheng Xiling often came into contact with the Yan family, so this Yan Ruai was also familiar to him, but after more than a month, he could not see any clues. After all, what Zheng Huayin said was just a guess, without any substantial evidence. It was impossible for the Zheng family to directly arrest the other party for interrogation. "Dad, is it possible that the Yan family really has no one left, so they brought such a clan member out?" "It's not impossible, so we still have to test it out." "How to test it?" Zheng Huayin looked at him and spoke slowly. "We can give the other party a task alone, let him go alone, and then bribe the foundation building casual cultivator to rob and kill him. If Yan Ruai is really unusual, the Yan family will definitely protect him secretly. As long as the person who protects him shows up, we can confirm Yan Ruai's identity and continue the next action." Zheng Xiling thought this was feasible, and letting the casual cultivator take action could also clear the relationship with the Zheng family. What if the other party has no one to protect him, an ordinary Kigan cultivator? If he dies, he dies. Zheng Huayin continued without emotion. "By the way, Xiling, you will monitor from the outside and see which one of the Yan family took action." "Yes," the latter was shocked. Another half a day passed. On this day, Yan Qing'an received a task assigned by the Zheng family. It was to track a Kigan cultivator named Zheng Heng, who belonged to the vassal force of the Zheng family. The Zheng family suspected that he was in collusion with the Kui family. This task is not difficult. The opponent's cultivation is not high, and a cultivator of the 9th level of key training can do it easily. Moreover, many people in the Yan family are now on missions. Even Yan Qing'an has been dispatched. So it finally fell on Yan Qing'an alone. The last time Zheng Huayin's test came and went quickly, and the Yan family, especially Yan Qing'an, did not reveal any obvious flaws. But there must be two, unless the Zheng family's suspicion is completely dispelled. Yan Qing'an looked at the task list in his hand, thinking. Afterwards, he reported all the situations to Yan Zinitan, and then went to carry out the task. Soon, with the help of the portrait, Yan Qing'an found Zheng Heng in a tea house. His expression was old-fashioned and his clothes were simple. As if he had received something, when the disguised Yan Qing'an entered the tea house, the opponent stood up and went out to another door. The former naturally had no intention of staying and followed. Yan Qing'an's ability to conceal his breath is naturally beyond words. Not to mention a small key training, even ordinary foundation building cultivators find it difficult to detect abnormalities. especially emotional management. Even Zhang Huaiyin couldn't see the clues. So along the way, he was not at risk of being exposed. The two of them, one after the other, left Huangjiang City and headed towards the wild forest. The direction there was completely opposite to the Zhang family's territory. I don't know how long they walked. Just when Yan Qingxun was still wondering what this person was doing, Zhang Heng's figure suddenly disappeared. Yan Qingxun's face became serious, and he secretly said bad, and hurriedly urged his magic power to dodge to the side. Then a beam of light fell on the place where he was originally standing. Zhang Heng disappeared, and was replaced by a masked man in black. Judging from the momentum emanating from his body, he was in the early stage of foundation building. A shining golden hook was suspended around his body. I think the previous attack was launched by it. At the same time, a voice rang in Yan Qingxun's heart. "Qingxun, be careful, wait for me to come to help." The person who transmitted the voice was Yan Lingyu. But his proposal was rejected by Yan Qingxun. The latter is practicing Qi, unable to transmit sound over long distances, and can only use secret sign language to indicate that he is safe and does not need to be rescued. Moreover, Yan Qingxun also realized at this moment that this was probably a test from the Zhang family. And it was specifically aimed at him. Because the person who came was using a magic weapon, and a dignified foundation building cultivator did not even have a spiritual weapon, it could only mean that the other party was a casual cultivator. Moreover, if his identity was exposed, the attack would not be less than the one when he hunted down Kui Junshu. This means that the person behind the scenes did not really want him to die. After thinking about it, it was the Zhang family. It was obvious that the other party had already suspected his identity. Since the more the other party wanted to know, the more he could not let the other party succeed, no matter what the other party's purpose was. Yan Qingxun entered a fighting posture. His attention was not entirely on the aggressive man in black in front of him, but more on inspecting the surroundings. He knew that the people of the Zhang family must be ambushing in the dense forest, monitoring his every move. With a plan in mind, there was naturally a direction for the attack. Facing the attack from the black-robed monk, Yan Qingxun immediately chose to disperse the yin lei of Hengshui to cover his vision and breath. He was also waiting for an opportunity to make his identity completely confirmed and completely out of the Zhang family's attention. If the Zhang family sent someone from the Zhang family, he would still feel troubled. But if it was just a casual cultivator who came for money, it would be easy to solve. As long as he killed the other party without exposing his sword skills, the Zhang family's suspicion of him would be dispelled. Moreover, Yan Qingxun also has this ability. Chapter 189. He is building a foundation, the Zhang family's purpose. In the woods outside Huangjiang City, Zhang Xiling stood on the air, his eyes fixed on Yan Qingxun's handsome figure. Whether it was the so-called Zhang Heng or the attacking cultivator, they were all sent by their Zhang family. He wanted to see the other party's reaction and whether there were really outsiders coming to help. However, the so-called Yan Ruai had already fought, but no other Yan family members were seen. Zhang Xiling continued to wait, but the next scene surprised him. Rinshi Yanli? Zhuangxi Shumanju. As a force in the Central Plains, Zhang Xiling naturally recognized the Taoist magic and skills used by the other party, and this Zhuangxi Shumanju is also somewhat famous. It can be regarded as the easiest high-level skill to obtain, but it is a little difficult to practice. Then Zhang Xiling frowned slightly, because his perception was slightly blocked. He was not close to the battlefield, and with the obstruction of Rinshu Yinli, he could only understand the general situation. Even later, as the viscous liquid continued to spread and completely covered the small area, Zhang Xiling also lost his surveillance on Yan Ruai. But this situation did not last long. When the magic faded, Yan Ruai showed up in a mess, and the foundation building cultivator fell to the ground and lost his voice. What? The cultivator died. This Yan Ruai was not practicing Qi, but building a foundation. Although Zhang Xiling did not know much about the actual fighting process, he was sure of one thing. That is, the two sides of the battle were these two people from beginning to end. There was no third party joining, and no Yan family cultivators intervened. In other words, it was Yan Ruai who killed the foundation building cultivator. The foundation building of a casual cultivator is also a foundation building, which is not comparable to ordinary Qi training. The latter can attack and kill in a short time without being seriously injured, and his cultivation strength is about to be revealed. Zhang Xiling looked at it calmly until Yan Ruai left in a panic. It was not until the other party completely disappeared from his perception that Zhang Xiaoling showed his true body and came to the corpse of the casual cultivator. Yan Ruai did not deal with the corpse, which is understandable. After all, he was being hunted, so he naturally had to leave the place of trouble as soon as possible. Therefore, Zhang Xiaoling did not doubt that the corpse was left behind intentionally. He squatted down and checked the cause of death. He found that there were no obvious injuries on the casual cultivator, and he died because his soul was completely frozen. Soul cultivator, Zhang Xiaoling had a guess in his mind. Then, he put away the corpse, took it back to the Zhang family's ancestral home, and told his father Zhang Huayin about the matter in detail. The latter fell into deep thought and muttered to himself, "Foundation building? Soul cultivator? Is this what the Yan family wants to hide?" A foundation building soul cultivator does have a certain influence, but it is not great. Is it worth being so cautious? Zhang Huayin frowned, secretly wondering if he was too sensitive. The Yan family did not hide other geniuses. He asked Zhang Xiaoling, "Did you see how he used his soul to attack?" Zhang Xiaoling shook his head and said, "No, most of his aura is blocked by the yin thunder of Hengshui." At this point, Zhang Huayin pondered for a moment and said, "Then let's leave it at that. Yan Ruai should be fine." It's hard to think about dual cultivation of sword and soul, although there are still some doubts. They can be explained. This matter is rootless and all of them are his guesses and speculations. Since there is no such thing, Zhang Huayin will not delve into it, but just leave a trace in his heart. He continued, "Then continue to watch Yan Qinghan. If he shows a special talent for swordsmanship, tell me." When Zhang Huayin said this, he actually showed a trace of worry and urgency. Yes. Another 4 months passed. During this period, the Zhang family paid almost no attention to Yan Qinghan, which allowed him to grow as much as he could, and his cultivation level really reached the 9th level of key training. If he needed the Xiao Divine Sword Array to fight against a foundation-building cultivator before, then at this moment, he can already rely on himself to fight head-on. On the other hand, what surprised the Yan family about Yan Qinghan was that they actually felt a disappointment in her from the Zhang family. It seemed that the Zhang family hoped Yan Qinghan would become a talent more than the Yan family, and even did not even pretend, but directly sent a sword cultivator to teach her and answer her questions. This was something that the Yan family could not figure out. But they did not know what the other party was up to, and the Yan family did not dare to expose Yan Qinghan, so they just kept wasting time. Until the date of departure for Tehuang Mountain arrived. In Huangjiang City, in the Zhang family meeting hall, several senior executives were there, including Zhang Pinghu and Zhang Huayin. But several of them looked a little gloomy. "Alice, what a pity. It could have been related to Master Honglu. It would be great if the Zhang family could find a peerless sword genius. I was looking forward to Yan Ruai for a long time." Several senior executives talked casually. What they discussed was all about the sword genius and the so-called Honglu's Henrun. Originally this was the best opportunity for us to consolidate our relationship with Langhuan Pavilion, but we failed to seize it. Zhang Huayin sighed again. Langhuan sect is located in Langyu County. Like Huai Sword Pavilion in Longming County, it is one of the 18 strongest sects in the Central Plains. It is also the backer behind the Zhang family. In the Central Plains, those who can develop into a force like the Zhang family have more or less the shadow of the 18 sects behind them. But unlike Huai Sword Pavilion, Langhuan sect is not as protective of its children as they are, and the Zhang family only has one member of the clan serving as an inner disciple in the sect. Therefore, the Zhang family urgently needs to get closer to Langhuan sect, or find a better backer. Originally, this disciple-taking ceremony covering the entire Central Plains was a good opportunity. This has to start with Huai Sword Pavilion and Langhuan sect. Although the Langhuan sect does not specialize in swordsmanship, swordsmanship is also their most impressive lineage. The leader of Daojian Peak, Honglu's Henrun, is also a swordsman of the time, a top master in the late nascent soul stage. However, such a sword peak began to decline. The reason is Huai Jian Pavilion. As a holy place of swordsmanship, the latter has absorbed all the swordsmanship talents in the world. All the young and promising swordsmen have gone to Longming County. The Langhuan sect can't even get soup. This made the leader of Daojian Peak, Honglu's Henrun, very anxious. There is no way their sect can't come up with conditions similar to Huai Jian Pavilion to protect its disciples. After all, the latter has only dozens of disciples, while the entire Langhuan sect has thousands of people. It is impossible to take care of everyone. Therefore, Zhenren Honglu came up with an idea that the disciples must be robbed. Langhuan sect is a major sect in the world after all. They don't look down on those crooked melons and jujubes. What they want is the genius among geniuses. But to grab a good seedling, you have to know in advance what a sword genius is. Therefore, all the forces under the Langhuan sect were mobilized to find a sword genius. And because the Zhang family has branches in Longming County, they are the most likely to find one. If they really dig out a sword genius for Master Honglu, the Zhang family will naturally gain the other party's favor and the power will rise steadily. This is also the reason why the Zhang family is eager to see if the Yan family has a sword genius. It's just a pity that everything was fruitless and Yan Qinghen couldn't meet the requirements. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. Get ready and go. In a trance, Zheng Huaiyan, the elder of the Zhang family, thought of the face of Yan Ruai again. It's strange to say that as time goes by, the suspicion that should have been put down becomes deeper and deeper. Zheng Huaiyan has seen the other party before, but he only thinks that the man is ordinary, but he can't see anything else. Sometimes when I think about it, this is also strange. He himself is in the late stage of foundation building and actively enters the golden elixir. He only lacks a group of suitable evil spirits, while the other party is at most in the early stage of foundation building. There is a gap in strength between the two parties. It stands to reason that it is impossible to see only a meaningless shell. In the depths of Zheng Huaiyan's heart, there is still a trace of disbelief. Shaking his head, he continued to pull his thoughts back to the Zhang family meeting. In fact, the Zhang family still has the opportunity to further its relationship with Langhuan Pavilion. Na Honglu's Henrin has personally gone to Longming County, wanting to snatch the disciples from under the nose of Kui Wei Jianj. The Zhang family can still provide help, but there is no possibility of making friends with Xianjiao. If the people of the Yan family are valued by Master Honglu, the Zhang family will naturally get a share of the pie with the relationship between the Yan and Zhang families. After all, the two sides have been together for 2 years. If the information is provided and Langhuan Pavilion takes action on its own, the Zhang family will lose this layer of relationship. The latter can only get some rewards from the upper sect, but these spiritual rewards are not lacking for the current Zhang family. What they want is a way to go up one level. On the other hand, the Yan family members naturally don't know what the Zhang family thinks. In other words, even if the Zhang family is willing to introduce the upper sect to the Yan family, the latter will not let Yan Qingxun be exposed, nor will they believe it easily, but will be on guard. Because this kind of fishing law enforcement has happened too much in the entire Longming County. In order to track the sword geniuses of each family, various forces can be said to have used various methods. At first, there were still silly people who were fooled, but now they are all very cunning. The Yan family is born in this way, so naturally they will not listen to the one-sided words of the Zhang family. The Yan family is also preparing intensively at this moment. They attach great importance to going to Tehuang Mountain with the Zhang family. During these 3 months, Yan Xingkang, the hidden giant and cultivator of the Yan family, finally showed up and formally contacted the Zhang family. This was naturally to protect the safety of the Yan family. With the famous giant, the Zhang family did not dare to coerce the Yan family to do dangerous things. At the same time, one more giant in the Yan family means one more giant in the Zhang family, which is also very helpful for future actions, and the latter is also willing to see this. Now the Zhang family has 6 giant and cultivators in Longming County, including the main lineage and various vassal forces. If the force with 6 giants were in Xiaonan County, the hometown of the Yan family, it would have been able to subvert the existence of the entire county. This shows the huge gap between the central plains and other areas of Daqian. In the practice room, Yan Qingxun woke up from meditation. This practice room is exclusive to him, and it is also the best one in the entire secret house. After all, he is the only one in the Yan family who needs to quickly improve his cultivation at this moment. It is unlikely that other members of the family will make progress in a short period of time. Yan Qing'an was already at the 9th level of key training. It was impossible for him to be filled with spiritual energy and become a foundation-building cultivator. Giving up the possibility of entering the upper sect, Yan Qingsun lived up to everyone's expectations and made further progress in his cultivation. Just before departure, he entered the 9th level of Qi training. After entering the last level of Qi training, his strength was greatly improved. Now, according to Yan Qingsun's own estimation, even without the blessing of the little 5 divine sword talisman array, he can fight with ordinary cultivators in the early stage of foundation building. His real strength has reached this point. You know, in the previous life, Yan Lingyu could only survive in the hands of the foundation-building cultivators, but in this life, he has the possibility of winning. This makes Yan Qingsun satisfied. This means that his potential now is even greater than in the previous life. It was a bit difficult to become a Yuanying in the previous life. After all, the foundation was still too low. But this is Yan Qingsun's confidence. As long as nothing unexpected happens, he will achieve Yuanying and bring the Yan family to a higher level. Compared with Yuanying, entering Qi Sword Pavilion has become less difficult. Yan Qingsun's cultivation level improved rapidly, due to his cultivation level recovery and the fact that he had been able to practice peacefully in recent days. Since the Zhang family tried to deceive Yan Qingsun last time, it was obvious that the Zhang family had almost no suspicion of him. This allowed him to enter the Wanling Mountains at will to hone his swordsmanship, and he could also live in his residence and practice with concentration. The assassination attempt on him was too beneficial for Yan Qingsun. Although there were some risks, it was exchanged for long-term development time. During this period, in addition to Yan Qingsun and Yan Qinghan who were preparing for the disciple-taking ceremony, other members of the Yan family also had their own tasks. The first was that Yan Xingkang and Yan Zinitun went out more often to perform tasks, and the degree of danger was also increased. Almost every time they returned, they were injured. Fortunately, no members of the family died. At the same time, the Yan family was also secretly organizing spiritual objects, exchanging all the real estate accumulated in the past 2 years for spiritual stones and spiritual objects that could be put into storage bags. These were all done without the knowledge of the Zhang family. Even if some of their actions were found to be unusual, they could still justify it as transforming them into immediate combat power for the next mission. Yes, the Yan family had already begun to prepare to run away. Because from the moment Yan Qingsun revealed his identity, the Zhang family's attitude towards the Yan family would definitely change. But the Yan family was not sure whether this change was in a good direction or a bad direction. Therefore, in order to prevent the Zhang family from killing the Yan family members out of resentment, the latter chose to break up the whole into pieces. Of course, if Yan Qingsun could enter the Qi Sword Pavilion, the Yan family's worries would be unnecessary. But even if the success rate was high, there would be a possibility of failure. The Yan family did not dare to gamble, and finally decided to act according to the previous plan. 10 days later, the number of high-level cultivators in the entire Huangjiang city was reduced by half. Basically, they were heading towards Taihong Mountain openly or secretly. Among them, only a few forces can produce outstanding sword cultivation talents, while the vast majority of them lack the opportunity to directly make friends with Kui Wei Jianja. But why do the latter still go? There are naturally benefits for them. For example, if a force escorts a prodigy into Taihong Mountain, and this prodigy is eventually selected by Kui Wei Jianja to become its disciple, then this force can also gain benefits. At least there is also the goodwill of a Jianja disciple. This is similar to the throne dispute in Daqian. Everyone wants to have the merit of following the dragon. Therefore, this seems to be related to only a few people, but it actually involves the entire Longming County. Perhaps in the near future, Longming County will be reshuffled because of this disciple recruiting ceremony. All forces want to get as many chips as possible. At the same time, the Yan family also followed the Zhang family's footsteps. Taihong Mountain is located in Yinzhou, Longming County, which is hundreds of thousands of miles away from Jizhou. Moreover, this matter is serious, and it is impossible to use the official teleportation array to expose the whereabouts for nothing. Therefore, it will take more than half a month for the Zhang and Yan families to reach Taihong Mountain. Chapter 191 Information, Attacked. The sky of Yinzhou, as its name suggests, is gloomy and without any light. Only the occasional light of escape in the void shows that this place is not uninhabited. The whole Yinzhou reveals the feeling of a storm coming. After nearly a month of raiding, the Yan family also arrived in Yinzhou and lay dormant here. Then, the Yan family members headed by Yan Xingking dispersed and began to inquire about information everywhere according to the instructions of the Zheng family. The Zheng family went to Taihuan Mountain this time not for the disciple recruiting ceremony as the primary goal, but to find the sword genius hidden in the vast number of cultivators so as to inform Langhuan Pavilion. Therefore, it is impossible for them to shrink into a ball, so that they can't get the information they want. This matter is not only done by the Zheng and Yan families, but almost all the forces entering Yinzhou are doing the same thing. If you don't know the information, it is difficult to grasp the purpose of your connection. For a time, the entire Yinzhou was full of various spies. There are even forces that sell intelligence in order to gain benefits from it. Such forces often have deep backgrounds. After all, such things will offend many people. The Yan family also roughly understood some of the situation through this investigation. There are 3 known geniuses who are likely to enter the Sword Pavilion, namely Ruan Sihun of the Beihu sect, Mo Yingzhong of the Mo family, and Long Qianai of the Long family. It is unknown what their specific talents are, but it is these 3 who have the greatest momentum. The forces to which these 3 people belong are already extraordinary. For example, the Beihu sect also has a Yuanying ancestor sitting in it, and it is also a hegemon, but it is inferior to the 18 major sects in the Central Plains. Sects like this are naturally not afraid of other forces attacking their own disciples. They are famous, and many small and medium-sized forces naturally want to cling to them, but only a few have successfully established a relationship. Even the Taoist giant Fang Honglu of Langhuan Pavilion has personally looked for several of them. But all in vain, mainly because Kui Wei, a master of the Sword Pavilion, intervened. Arriving safely at Mount Taihuang was part of the trial of accepting disciples. The Sword Pavilion didn't care about the sword cultivators who died during the trial, saying that they were not destined to be together. But the people who could have become their own disciples were suddenly snatched away by foreign sects, which was something the Sword Pavilion could not tolerate. Therefore, the Sword Pavilion sent many Yuanying Zhenren to guard the young sword cultivators with potential, not to protect their safety, but to prevent the actions of Zhenren Honglu, who was desperate to snatch people. This also caused the latter to be indignant, but after all, it was the Sword Pavilion's territory, so he couldn't get angry. There was no choice but to choose to pick up the leak. See if there are any geniuses who are not as popular as Ru and Sihun and the other 2, but have the same talent. For all these reasons, the tasks of the Zheng family and the Yan family are extremely difficult. The Huanghang Mountains are located on the outskirts of Yinzhou, stretching for thousands of miles. The geographical location is not far from Mount Taihuang where Kiwai Sword Pavilion is located. With the ability of the foundation building cultivators, they can arrive within a few days, and the giant and masters will only be faster. In the mountains, there is a temporary garrison where the Zheng family protects its vassal forces. But unlike when they set out, there are not many monks stationed in the garrison at this moment. Because most of them were sent out to explore information. Only a few tribesmen were left, including Yan Qinghan and Zheng Xiaoqiu. The latter is another sword genius selected by the Zheng family, and his strength is equivalent to that of Yan Qinghan after he was promoted. The Zheng family brought him out, first, to better collect information. Only when you have a sword genius yourself, other forces will contact you and exchange information. Another point is that the Zheng family also hopes that their family members can enter the Sword Pavilion. Who doesn't want to be able to step on 2 boats? After all, there are a total of 3 places this time, and it is really hard to infer the matter of chance. Does Ru and Sihun, who is stronger, have a greater chance? Not necessarily. Because there will be more trouble for them. The internal fighting of these 3 families alone cannot be stopped. Others may steal opportunities. In addition to Yan Qinghan and Zheng Xiaoqiu, Yan Ruai, disguised as Yan Qingxun, was also suddenly in it. On the surface, it was to protect Yan Qinghan's safety, but in reality, it was to take care of his own life. This was an extremely dangerous task to gather information. Scouts have always attracted the most hatred. In the past half-month, Yan Zhenren, Yan Zikang and other tribesmen who went out encountered many attacks and were injured. Fortunately, the tribesmen were alert and no casualties occurred. Yan Qingxun sat beside Yan Qinghan with his eyes closed. The 2 of them did not communicate at all, as if they were unrelated. This was not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't dare. Yan Qingxun always felt that there were a pair of cold eyes staring at him. He had some guesses in his mind, probably Zhang Huayin from the Zhang family. But he didn't dare to confirm it. After all, he was just practicing key cultivation. If he made abnormal actions, it would easily arouse suspicion. Now, the only thing that could protect his life was a small teleportation talisman. Suddenly, Yan Qingxuan frowned. He looked in a direction. At the same time, Zhang Huayin, who secretly released his spiritual consciousness, also noticed something strange. Enemy attack. The voice transmission of the Zhang family's giant and master sounded in everyone's heart. It's the Kui family. Zhang Huayin stood up and looked at the newcomer. The Zhang and Kui families have been at odds for a long time. If you really want to trace it back, it can be traced back to at least 1,000 years ago. It's basically a matter of one or the other. The appearance of the Kui family was more or less expected by the Zhang family. This is also the reason why they did not rush to Teherong Mountain. If they consumed too much on the way and encountered an emergency, they would be caught off guard. The people of the Kui family did not hide their identities in this attack. They directly revealed their identities. Several famous Kui family giant and cultivators were also among them. They were well prepared and aggressive. Not long ago, Kui Junshu, the sword genius of the Kui family, was attacked and killed by the Yan and Zhang families. Although it was unknown who killed the assassin at the beginning, the Kui family was also a force that could compete with the Zhang family for 1,000 years, and they quickly reacted. In other words, even if the Kui family never knew that it was the Zhang family who did it, they would still attack the Zhang family in the end. Because they had severed their relationship with Kui Wei Jianzhe, they could not let their mortal enemy succeed. When they knew that the Zhang family still had two sword geniuses, they had already begun to prepare for this attack. The Kui family could not watch the Zhang family's clan members enter the sword pavilion, even if the possibility was very small. As long as this happened, the original balance between the two sides would be broken, and the Kui family would inevitably be suppressed by the Zhang family in the future until it died. Therefore, this time when the Kui family took action, except for the clan members who had other plans, the remaining monks and the clan all came here. As for where this news came from, just as the Zhang family could find that the Kui family was secretly escorting Kui Junshu, the Kui family also had its own channels. Boom! A loud noise sounded in the void. The originally dim sky was set off by various Taoist magic methods. This came from both Zhang and Kui. Yan Qingxuan, who was looking up at the sky, felt infinite pressure in an instant. He held the small teleportation talisman with one hand and put one hand on Yan Qinghan, and prepared to run away. Chapter 192. Formation forced, exposing skills. Buzz buzz buzz, the sky highlight curtain rose up. This was the ground formation temporarily set up by the Zhang family. With it, the Kui family's attack could not break through the defense for a while. But after all, the other party had more people, and the Zhang family and the Yan family could only hide in the formation and wait for rescue. The Zhang family dared to send out clansmen to get information, and they also investigated the situation of several enemies in advance, especially the sworn enemy Kui family. After learning about the deployment of the other party's cultivators, they made their own personnel transfers. But it was still unexpected that the other party could send so many cultivators. Judging from the current situation, there are at least 6 giant and 30 foundation building cultivators besieging the formation. And because this formation was temporarily built, it was relatively simple and could not be compared with those protective formations. Therefore, it didn't take long for the color of the light curtain to dim a lot. Yan Qingxuan looked at the void with a solemn look, and the colorful Taoist magic confused people's eyes. He did not send a message to his clansmen outside, because he knew that he could not pass on his ability to practice Qi, and the Kui family would not give him this opportunity. Moreover, the Zhang family, who were also in trouble, were more anxious than them, and the people of the Zhang family would want to find a way out. Yan Qingxuan quickly came to the side of Yan Qinghan, a clan member, and pulled him behind him under the latter's surprised eyes. This move was nothing to outsiders, just like the care of the elders for the younger generation in a crisis. But Yan Qinghan knew that the other party was his cousin, a person more important than himself. For a moment, the girl's eyes fell on the face of the man after the change. Strangely enough, Yan Qinghan did not feel any sense of disobedience. It seemed that Yan Qingxuan should be matched with his old and calm face. Inexplicably, the girl's somewhat panicked heart was a little calm. But it was only a little, because the crisis had not been resolved. The battle between the giant and foundation building cultivators, the current key training can only be described as helpless. Compared with the Yan family, the Zhang family had more key training monks here, and their faces were full of fear. How could these key training monks of the Zhang family have ever seen such a scene? They were members of the Zhang family, and with the support of the Langhuan Pavilion, they were also considered to be local landlords. It was rare for them to be surrounded and blocked like this. This led to the fact that although the Zhang family's top leaders could still fight, the low-level monks below were already in chaos. This also made the Yan family's siblings, who were particularly calm, seem a little out of place. Boom! After an unknown amount of time, there was a loud noise, and the defensive formation supporting the Zhang family broke. But fortunately, it also intercepted a lot of time, giving the Zhang family monks to prepare for a hard fight. The two giant monks left behind by the Zhang family directly soared into the sky, trying to pull out a distance for the battle so that the clansmen could better display their skills. The other two Zhang family giant monks who were closer also rushed back to guard at the first time, with 4 against 6. Barely defending against a massacre of the Kui family giant. However, because the speed of the foundation building cultivators was not fast, they could not return to the rescue immediately, so the Zhang family still suffered a lot in terms of core combat power. As the formation was broken, the Zhang family became more chaotic and began to suffer damage. Many Zhang family members died. It is obvious that the Kui family did not just come for a single sword genius. They were able to gather so many people to launch an attack, and without the Zhang family knowing in advance, it can be predicted that the Kui family must have spent a huge price. And having paid so much, they naturally hope to get a better effect. If they really want to kill Zhang Xiaoqiu and Yan Qinghun, it would not be so difficult. Especially Yan Qinghun. As a member of the Yan family, it is impossible for him to get the protection of the Zhang family in such a crisis. If the Kui family's main target was not Zhang Xiaoqiu, the pressure on the Yan family would increase. At this moment, the only two people who can protect Yan Qingsun and Yan Qinghun are Yan Lingyu and Yan Xianzong, who are in the late stage of foundation building. The latter two used almost all their abilities to stand in front of the younger generations of the clansmen, shielding them from the wind and rain, and blocking all incoming Taoist attacks that could not be resisted by key training. Because they were not the main target, the situation of the Yan family was acceptable for a while. This was also related to the Kui family's plan. Because they had more people and expected that the Zhang family would not come back quickly to help, the Kui family planned an annihilation war, killing as many enemies as possible while protecting the safety of their own family members. The Kui family themselves did not want to fight desperately, not to mention that they still had the advantage. If they lost clan members here, their subsequent plans would also be disrupted. Therefore, the Kui family chose a large-scale bombardment method, relying entirely on long-range Taoist magic to carry out all-round targeted strikes. Different positions and conditions require different fighting methods. Yan Zinitan and other members of the Yan family could not use this method when they attacked and killed Kui Junshu. A shrill scream cut through the sky. As the Zhang family's spiritual energy was rapidly consumed, the defense line was breached. A high-level Taoist technique passed to the rear and hit Zhang Xiaoqiu, who was protected by layers of protection. The latter turned into nothingness in an instant, without even the ability to resist. Xiaoqiu, some Zhang family members were sad. Zhang Huayin also showed anger and anxiety, because the Kui family had no intention of retreating. As he expected, their intention was to annihilate all the Zhang family members here. On the other side, Yan Qingsun's face also sank. Once Zhang Xiaoqiu died, the pressure on their Yan family would also increase. The Kui family would not let Yan Qinghun go. Sure enough, the attacks on Yan Lingyu and Yan Xianzong in front suddenly increased sharply. Swoosh, a black spear flashing with cold light, with a dark tail flame, penetrated Yan Lingyu's barrier and continued to move towards Yan Qingsun. This was not an ordinary foundation building attack. It almost reached the full force of a late-stage foundation building cultivator. And it was possible that it could even reach the threshold of the Golden Core realm. Even if it had been weakened, it was not something that a key training cultivator could resist. Even the latter found it difficult to evade. In just a moment, Yan Qingsun judged that he could no longer hide. He had no time to think about the consequences of exposing his means, so he could only use all his strength to activate the magic power around him. The source of the spirit body flowed at a high speed. The yin thunder of Hengshui seeped out to defend. The Xiao Divine Sword Talisman array appeared. He did not use the spiritual weapon shield, but switched to the Zhuangqi Water Spirit Sword. Because both were spiritual weapons, He could not exert their full power, but as a sword cultivator, Yan Qingsun had a much better grasp of the spiritual sword. Not only was Yan Qingsun struggling to resist, but Yan Qinghan behind him also tried his best to defend, using all his means. This was also the reason why the former did not use the small teleportation talisman. The contact between the two had been broken, and Yan Qingsun could not take the girl away with him. If he escaped alone, Yan Qinghan would surely die. Yan Qingsun's first reaction to this tribe member was to save him. But the current situation did not allow him to think too much. Bang! A violent shock spread between Yan Qingsun and the spear. Puff, puff, the two Kigan cultivators both vomited blood and flew backwards. At least their lives were saved. It was just that they were severely injured and it was difficult for them to react. Yan Qingsun even fell into a semi-conscious stage. However, his actions entered Zhang Huain's perception without missing a moment. Zhang Huain thought of a way to save the Zhang family. Chapter 193 Master Honglu, the crisis is resolved. The bombardment of the Kui family made the Zhang family members in a state of embarrassment. While they were exhausted from resisting, they had to find ways to break the deadlock. As the clan members died one after another, a sharp sword seemed to appear above Zhang Huain's head, ready to cut him off at any time. No matter how strong he was, he could not beat four hands with two fists, not to mention that the number ratio of the two sides would be getting bigger and bigger. It was difficult to rely on other clan members. The main lineage was thousands of miles away. With the speed of the giant and cultivators, they could only collect their ashes at most. By then, only a few giant and cultivators of the Zhang family might be able to escape, and the others would be annihilated here. But at this moment, Zhang Huain smiled. The previous actions of Yan Qingsun and Yan Qinghan were all within his perception. He found Yan Qingsun's sword. This man disguised as Yan Rui used a sword in front of the Zhang family for the first time. He is a sword cultivator. Yan Rui is obviously a sword cultivator, but why does he keep hiding? Combined with Zhang Huain's previous speculation about the Yan family must have a more outstanding sword genius besides Yan Qinghan, who can have a better chance of entering the Kiwei sword pavilion. Now, Zhang Huain can be sure that this Yan Rui must not be as simple as he appears, and he must be the hidden talent of the Yan family. In other words, this person is practicing Qi. Only by practicing Qi can one be selected into the sword pavilion. This is quite terrible. Because the other party personally killed a foundation building cultivator a few months ago, although the latter was in the early stage of foundation building and was a casual cultivator. But there is no doubt that the man in Zhang Huain's eyes has crossed the bottomless gap between Qi training and foundation building. It can be seen that the other party's talent is so high that ordinary people can hardly imagine it. And the appearance of this sword genius also means that the Zhang family has ushered in the dawn of hope. At this moment, it is difficult for the giant and cultivators to save their Zhang family. But the Yuanying's Hunren, who has a higher cultivation and stronger strength, can easily rescue them from the water and fire. There were indeed no Yuanying cultivators in the Zhang family, but that didn't mean they didn't know anyone. That's right, it was the Langhun Pavilion's Honglu's Hunren, who was willing to lower his status and travel thousands of miles to Longming County in order to recruit a good disciple. Zhang Huain believed that the other party must be interested in this sword genius. As soon as the thought came to this, a voice that all the Zhang family members felt incredible suddenly rang in their hearts. Protect Yan Rui of the Yan family. At this moment, Yan Rui was the Zhang family's lifeline, and it couldn't be lost. If Honglu's Henren came here and only received a corpse, his Zhang family would not be able to get away with it. Then, Zhang Huain struggled to crush a jade talisman in his hand. At the same time, on the top of a mountain thousands of miles away from the place where Zhang and Kui fought, an old man with a fury-like appearance was thinking and worrying. He was dressed in a white and dust-free Taoist robe, and his feet were lightly stepping on a turquoise ancient sword. Even if the ancient sword was not swung, its sharpness made the surrounding space tremble. The old man was Li Wingxin, the master of Honglu. With a light pop sound, Master Honglu took out a jade talisman in surprise. The jade talisman showed a row of small words: "The top sword genius has been found. Please come quickly." The kid from the Zhang family, Master Honglu, raised his white eyebrows and showed a hint of joy. Then, he threw his Taoist robe and disappeared in an instant, without even a trace of light. On the other side, a jade talisman was also broken. But it was in Yan Xingkang's hand. Not good, Qingsun is exposed. Before Yan Qingsun met the spear, He passed a message to the tribe members, because his identity was exposed, which might involve a lot of people. He could leave by himself through the small teleportation talisman, but other tribe members could not. If the Zhang family turned against each other because of this matter, they would not let the tribe members run back stupidly and be caught. Yan Zikang frowned and passed the message to other tribe members at the same time, asking them to stop their affairs immediately and rush to the Huanghang Mountains thousands of miles away to find Yan Qingxun's whereabouts. He also hurriedly set off to find someone. Yan Qingxun is the future of the Yan family and the hope of the family. He cannot have any problems. Otherwise, the Yan family's careful planning and efforts over the past 20 years will be in vain. The view returns to the battle between Kui and Zhang in the Huanghang Mountains. There is a burly middle-aged man standing in the void. This is Kui Lincoln from the Kui family. The uncle Kui Jun who was killed by the Yan family is his biological son. And it was him who threw the fatal blow earlier. Huh? Not dead. Kui Lincoln looked in the direction of Yan Qingxun with some surprise. He did not notice the latter's abnormality. He just thought that this was an ordinary foundation-building sword cultivator. After all, compared with the Zhang family, the Kui family still knows too little about the Yan family. And the power of the three-autumn sword used by Yan Qingxun earlier was infinitely close to the full-strength attack of the foundation-building period. It is hard not to miss it and think that the other party is a foundation-building cultivator. Even Zhang Xiling did not see Yan Qingxun's identity at the beginning, let alone Kui Lincoln. He was not satisfied with the result of only injuring the opponent with his full-strength attack, so he prepared to launch another attack on the target Yan Qingxun. However, after missing the opportunity and being blocked by the Zhang family, it was difficult for him to attack again. Humph. In that case, I will kill the Zhang family and settle the score with you later. You killed my son, and you will pay with blood, Kui Lincoln said angrily. He was not in a hurry. This group of Zhang family members was already trapped in a jar, and it was only a matter of time before they were captured. At most, some strong fish would escape. The Zhang family has shown signs of decline, and they are ready to launch a general attack. After another round of confrontation, a voice transmission sounded in the hearts of all the Kui family members. This shocked all the Kui family members and they all showed cruel eyes. However, just when they were about to take action, a terrifying aura came from far away, causing everyone present, whether from the Zhang family or the Kui family, to feel fear in their hearts. Nascent Soul Cultivator? Master Honglu, a giant and cultivator from the Kui family, shouted in fear. As the mortal enemy of the Zhang family, the Kui family naturally knew that the Langhuan Pavilion was behind them. The Kui family itself belonged to another top force. Therefore, the suddenly appearing Honglu's Henren must not be the Kui family's helper, and there is a high probability that he came to help the Zhang family. What should we do with the elders? A member of the Kui family said in a voice transmission. Zhang Xiaoqiu is dead, and Yan Qingxun alone can't stir up any trouble. Yuanying cultivators are not something we can resist. We have earned enough. Retreat. The Kui family's top leaders were also decisive. Even if the escape light was still some distance away, they did not dare to stay at all. In a few breaths, all the Kui family cultivators left. Zhang Huaiyan, who saw this situation, was relieved. But then, he was afraid again. I hope Yan Ruiyi can satisfy Henren Honglu. Although he was 99% sure that Yan Ruiyi was an outstanding sword genius, there was still a slight possibility that these were all his assumptions, and the other party was just a foundation-building sword cultivator. If the latter situation occurred, the Yuanying's Henren would not be so easy to fool. The Zhang family would definitely suffer greater anger. It might be more serious than a battle with the Kui family. But once this is accomplished, the Zhang family will also gain huge benefits. Chapter 194, Talent Revealed, Real Person Recognized. I don't know how long I was unconscious. When Yan Qingxun regained consciousness, the overwhelming sounds of fighting and killing around him had disappeared, which meant that the Kui family's raid had ended and the ending had appeared. And I was just fainted, not dead, which meant that the Zhang family won. But Yan Qingxun did not relax his vigilance, but touched the small teleportation talisman and prepared to escape immediately. However, when he opened his eyes and prepared to look for Yan Qingxun, he was first attracted by another kind-looking white-haired old man. Maybe it was because of his natural sword body. Yan Qingxun could feel that the other party was an extremely powerful sword cultivator. Although his cultivation was low and he could not see the depth of the other party, he could be sure that the old man was at least a Yuanying cultivator. Master Honglu. In an instant, Such a term emerged in Yan Qingxun's mind. The people of the Yan family were also outside collecting information. The former made a lot of noise and was extremely eager to receive sword talents, but they were always blocked by the masters of Kuiwei Sword Pavilion. In fact, the Yan family also thought about communicating with Master Honglu. Kuwei Jianj and Lang Huanzong were almost the same for the former, and both were acceptable, but it was difficult to do. First, although the Yan family knew that there was a Yuanying force behind the Zhang family, they did not know which one it was, nor did they know that Master Honglu was the mastermind behind the former's assignment. Otherwise, they probably would not have gone to Teherong Mountain to find the opportunity of Kuwei Jianj. They could directly follow the Zhang family's line and enter Lang Huanzong. Second, the Yan family could not contact the Yuanying master who was high above, and it was impossible to release the news to tell the world who in the Yan family was gifted. It was hard to say who would be attracted first. Therefore, the Yan family did not make any rash moves, but chose to proceed steadily according to the original plan. But with the arrival of Master Honglu, Yan Qingxun's original idea changed. As long as the other party was here, he could show his talent and potential, and he would be noticed by the master and then accepted into the sect. Yan Qingxun was still very confident about this. Moreover, in this situation, he was no longer at risk. Even if the Zhang family wanted to attack him, it was too late. This made his hand that was originally stroking the small teleportation talisman loosen. He and his people were safe. On the other side, Master Honglu had already learned from Zhang Huayin who the sword genius was. He also set his sights on Yan Ruai. In the eyes of the Yuanying cultivator, all the disguises on the other party were nothingness, and the truth could be seen at a glance. At the same time, as a top sword cultivator, Master Honglu could also feel the strong sword will from the other party. With his vision, he could see that the talent of the person in front of him must be extraordinary. He was going to pick up a treasure. With an even bigger smile on his face, Master Honglu waved his hand and laid a simple barrier to isolate the outside world, leaving only a few people in the barrier. Then, Master Honglu said in a kind of unapproachable voice, "Little guy, show your true self. No need to pretend anymore. Also, this Yan Ruai is not your real name." At the same time, the other members of the Yan family were terrified, not knowing who the old guy in front of them was. At the same time, they secretly said that it was bad and hoped that Yan Qingxun could leave. It was not until they received the voice transmission that Yan Lingyu and others reacted and were overjoyed. They paid so much, didn't they just want their family to rely on a powerful force? The original idea was Kuiwei Jianj, but the Langhuan sect that suddenly appeared was also a good choice. Junior Yan Qingxun, meet Master Honglu. Yan Qingxun took off the Thousand Faces illusion body jade and saluted respectfully. This guy turned out to be Yan Qingxun, and he is still so young. He should be less than 20 years old. When the boy's true appearance appeared, the first person to be surprised was Zhang Huayin, who had been with him for a long time. Key training cultivators don't have any ability to maintain their appearance. They look as old as they are. Zhang Huayin had never thought that the other party would be so young. You know, Yan Qingxun can kill a foundation-building cultivator. According to the original calculation of the Zhang family, he must be around 25 years old. 25 and 20 years old seem to be only 5 years apart, but in fact, the difference is huge. Generally, infants only officially start to learn the way of cultivating immortals at the age of 8 to 10. 5 years is equal to half of Yan Qingxun's cultivation time in this life. Zhang Huayin was shocked beyond words, and at the same time, an inexplicable emotion quietly surged in his heart. How great it would be if Yan Qingxun was a member of his Zhang family. Not to mention his talent in swordsmanship, his own cultivation qualifications are top-notch. Don't forget that Yan Qingxun's skills are the Zhuangxi Shumianju, which is known for its slow progress. Just this point alone, he has the qualifications to enter the upper sect casually and become a core disciple. This is what the Zhang family has dreamed of for all these years, but they can't get it. How can I envy him? How old are you this year? When Master Honglu saw the boy's appearance, he liked him more and more, and asked in a more peaceful voice. 19, Yan Qingxun answered. Master Honglu nodded, looking satisfied. Then, he suddenly straightened his body and continued, since you have recognized who I am, you should also understand why I came to you. My Langhuan sect is one of the 18 great sects in the Central Plains, and it has been ranked in the top 5 all year round. There are 8 Yuanying cultivators and 50 Jiandan cultivators in the sect. The total number of disciples is nearly 1,000. It governs an entire county, and it has the most secret realms among the major sects, so, the threshold for accepting disciples in my sect is also extremely high, especially for my Dao Jiangfeng. Although Master Honglu could see Yan Qingxun's extraordinariness at a glance, he still wanted to know more about his skills. The latter also understood that this was a test for entering the sect, even though Yan Qingxun still had a lot of doubts about the current situation until this moment. But he also knew that now was the time to show himself. The junior is still somewhat confident in his swordsmanship. After calling out softly, Yan Qingxun's eyes changed and became extremely sharp. The whole person turned into a sword that soared into the sky. And the sword energy was free and unrestrained. This made Master Honglu show a trace of solemnity, and he was surprised and happy in his heart. This boy might be more talented than he thought. Frost. Lonely Plum. Broken Soul. Ice Soul Sword. 3 Autumns. Zhenshu. Yellow Leaves. Autumn Water Sword. Yan Qingxun swung out 8 swords in succession. In an instant, the entire barrier was filled with dazzling sword light and sword energy. The Yan family was limited by their eyesight. In fact, they had never known what Yan Qingxun's swordsmanship talent was. This was also the reason why they were still worried that he would not be selected by the Sword Pavilion. In fact, as long as the understanding of swordsmanship reached the golden core or above, just one look would show how terrible the talent of this younger generation of the Yan family was. He could create a one-level swordsmanship of the foundation building level at the key training stage. Although it was a bit stitched. But it still made people feel incredible. Good, good, good. Master Honglu's face turned red, his fists clenched unconsciously. He was so happy that he said good 3 times. Chapter 195, Lang Huan's Disciple Identity, Jianzhen Yuanying arrives. Good, 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 Master Honglu said 3 times. However, the most excited person at this moment was not him, but Zhang Huayin, who was standing beside him. This senior executive of this family witnessed the praise of Master Yuanying with his own eyes. Although he was not a sword cultivator and did not understand what Yan Qingxun's talent was. But the fact that Master Yuanying could perform like this showed that his qualifications were very extraordinary and far exceeded expectations. At the same time, Zhang Huayin finally put his mind at ease, knowing that the Zhang family members were also saved, and they could even get some benefits from the Langhuan sect to make up for their own losses. Zhang Huayin's eyes flickered, and he kept looking at Yan Qingxun. He cursed secretly. Why hide so deeply? If it is exposed early, the Zhang family will report to the upper sect, and you can eat meat and we can drink soup. As a result, it has been suppressed for 2 years, which also caused many members of the Zhang family to die. Of course, these words can only be buried in Zhang Huayin's heart, and he dare not speak out. Moreover, in fact, he also understands the Yan family's approach. Without knowing the real situation, no one will reveal their complete information. Under the role reversal, Zhang Huayin would also make such an arrangement. But he felt inexplicably aggrieved. It was obvious that the person he had been looking for was right under his nose, and he had the opportunity to find him, but he had never caught him. Because of this reason, the Zhang family lost the opportunity to get closer to the Yan family. Yes, in Zhang Huayin's view, it is not the Yan family that wants to try to please the Zhang family, but the Zhang family needs to get closer to the Yan family. Because the Yan family is a fledgling dragon, waiting for an opportunity to rise. The appearance of Yan Qingxun and his joining the Shangzong gave the Yan family this opportunity. Don't look at the Yan family as still very weak at the moment, with only 1 Jiandan, or in the early stage of Jiandan. But if they are given 100 years to develop, they will definitely become an existence that the Zhang family needs to look up to. This is the inevitable result that Zhang Huayin has come to by observing the character of the Yan family in the past 2 years. Zhang Huayin secretly regretted not testing Yan Qingxun more and missed the best opportunity to make friends with the Yan family. At the same time, he was also grateful. He was glad that although the relationship between the Yan and Zhang families did not go further, it did not become worse. They still had some friendship, and the Zhang family's mortal enemy, the Kui family, had some grudges against the Yan family. Zhang Huayin's thoughts kept changing, and he said at the same time, Senior Honglu, our Zhang family has lost a lot of clansmen in order to protect such a genius. Moreover, not only is Yan Qingxun's swordsmanship outstanding, but his clansman Yan Qinghun is also a good swordsmanship genius. I believe he can also be recognized by the Langhuan sect. Zheng Huayin is an old and shrewd man. He knows what to say at what time. And his words did gain the goodwill of both the Yan family and Master Honglu, and he was also seeking credit for his family. The situation of the Yan family is like this: although Yan Qingxuan's selection into Daojian Peak is a foregone conclusion, he still has clansmen and Yan Qinghuan. And in this case, the Yan family can't make any more requests to Master Honglu. Doesn't the Yan family want Yan Qinghuan to enter the upper class sect? Of course they do. But the latter just barely reaches the threshold, and it is not certain that he will be selected. But Zheng Huayin's words were just right. He said what the Yan family wanted to say but couldn't say. Naturally, the Yan family had a good impression of him. Apart from anything else, whether this matter succeeded or not, Yan Qinghuan would definitely remember this favor. And this sentence also made a slight impact in the heart of Honglu's Henren. As Henren, he didn't know what the Kuijiang War was about. He only saw that the Zhang family was protecting the Yan family and that many cultivators of the Zhang family died. I will remember the contributions of your Zhang family, Honglu's Henren said lightly, then looked at Yan Qinghuan and asked the girl to try her skills. The latter had some ability, and Honglu's Henren was still happy. Therefore, she was also favored. But not as much as Yan Qingxuan. Well, now you two brothers and sisters are my Langhuan sect Dao Jiang Fang disciples. This is a spiritual tablet symbolizing identity. The disciple-taking ceremony will be held after returning to the sect, together with other new disciples, Honglu's Henren said. Thank yous Henren, thank yous Henren, Yan Qingxuan and Yan Qinghuan saluted at the same time. Suddenly, Master Honglu's face became solemn. He removed the barrier, and pointed at Yan Qingxuan, and the latter's sword force was obviously weakened. At the same time, another sword light flew from the sky. When the sword light fell, a middle-aged monk in a dark blue Taoist robe appeared in front of everyone. Honglu, Duangting, this person is also a Yuanying master, with a Taoist name Duangting, but he is not a monk from Langhuan Pavilion, but from Kiwei Sword Pavilion. Because Master Honglu has been thinking about poaching from Sword Pavilion, the latter naturally took precautions. In addition to arranging Yuanying around several famous sword geniuses, Master Dongting was also specially dispatched to secretly observe the former to prevent the other party from finding any lost pearls. Master Dongting was only in the middle stage of Yuanying, his cultivation was inferior, and he was not well informed, so he arrived a little late, and he didn't know anything. But he was also sharp-eyed, and when he saw the two young men and women behind him, he roughly understood. After all, this place is also the territory of Kuiwei Jianj. Master Dongting is not afraid of Master Honglu. He said loudly, Honglu, the cultivators who entered my Longming County are from my Kuiwei Jianj. You Langhuan sect should go back to your own Langaiyu County to find them. Master Honglu, who had just accepted a disciple, also put away the joy on his face in time, not letting the other party see the clues, and replied leisurely, this is a person from the Zhang family, an affiliated force of my Langhuan sect. He accidentally ran here, and I came out to bring him back. I believe that with your intelligence network of Jianj, you should know this situation. Besides, they were saved by me. If I didn't take action, your Jianj would not intervene. This pair of siblings must be dead or alive. In this case, do you, Dongting, still have the face to discipline them? Master Honglu was full of confidence. First of all, the other party couldn't beat him. And it was his business to leave or stay. Secondly, this time was different from before. Yan Qingxuan was indeed a member of the Zhang family, and the Zhang family was indeed an affiliated force of Langhuan sect, so he was right. Finally, and most importantly, Dongting or the entire Kiwei Sword Pavilion did not know Yan Qingxuan, did not know his sword talent, and Master Honglu had also placed a special ban on the boy. Even at a close distance, Dongting could not see anything. Therefore, in his opinion, Dongting's retreat was inevitable. This was indeed the case. While facing Master Honglu, Master Dongting had been communicating with his disciples through voice transmission. Uncle Master, what do you think we should do? What potential do those two juniors have? Just barely reach the entry threshold. In this case, let them go, and don't force that old man Honglu to hurry up. Besides, don't we still have Ru and Sihun from the Beihou sect, Mo Yingzhong from the Mo family, and Long Kainai from the Long family? Just keep an eye on these three people, and it doesn't matter if there are others. Is there anyone whose sword talent is stronger than these three people? Yes, Uncle Master, Dongting thought about it and it was indeed the case. Using 2 ordinary sword talents in exchange for 3 real sword geniuses, how could their sword pavilion lose? Moreover, the power behind these 3 geniuses is also very powerful, which is not comparable to the Yan family or the Zhang family. Chapter 196, It's over, go to the sect. Father, what are you laughing at? Zhang Ziling's voice spread in the heart of his father Zhang Huaiyan. The former was also seriously injured in the battle between Kui and Zhang. Although the war ended because of the appearance of Yuan Ying's Hunren, he was not happy at all, but only felt heavy grief for the sacrifice of his people. But what he didn't expect was that Zhang Ziling actually saw joy in his father. Although it was a little obscure and difficult for ordinary people to find, as Zhang Huaiyan's own son, he could still recognize it at a glance. Zhang Ziling knew that the other party had a reason, so he asked curiously. I remembered something happy. Zhang Huaiyan looked at Rongting's Henren who came to kill Jianj, left without looking back, and replied with a smile. The death and injury of his people naturally weighed on his heart. But more of it was the joy of surviving the disaster and finding a new support for the family. Not only that, the main reason why he couldn't hold it was because of Dongting's Henren. Zhang Huaiyan understood the other party's thoughts very well at this moment. In Kui Wei Jianji's view, the 2 sword cultivators recruited by Lang Huanzong this time were just ordinary geniuses, far inferior to other already famous Xianjiao. The former could be abandoned and exchanged. However, this was picking up sesame seeds and losing watermelons. Zhang Huaiyan seemed to see in his heart that after Yan Qingsun grew up and stood on the opposite side of the other party, the senior management of Kui Wei Jianjie was angry and embarrassed. Then, Zhang Huaiyan told his son about the Yan family siblings being selected into Lang Huanzong, so that the latter would improve his attitude towards the Yan family. Because before, Master Honglu laid the barrier, only a few people knew the situation inside the barrier. Even many Zhang family Jinden did not know the truth. Of course, Zhang Huaiyan would not explain it in detail, but just roughly pointed it out. After all, Master Honglu must not like the Zhang family to publicize it everywhere. At this moment, Zhang Huaiyan had already begun to think about how to get closer to the Yan family. On the other side, it was not until the people from the sword pavilion left that Master Honglu's solemn expression relaxed. He turned around and looked at Yan Qingsun intimately, saying, Don't listen to the outsiders bragging about how good Kiwei sword pavilion is. In fact, there are only a bunch of old men hanging around there. Then, Master Honglu added, Qingsun, Qinghan, do you have anything else to tell me? If not, follow me and go to the sect. Master, I still need to communicate with my family members. Please wait a moment. Yes, after getting the other party's permission, Yan Qingsun came to the side of Yan Lingyu, a member of the clan, and told him everything. The latter also showed joy. Then, Yan Qingsun sent a few more voice messages, and Yan Lingyang's expression changed from relaxed to serious, and he nodded frequently. In the end, Yan Qingsun also asked Yan Lingyang to get in touch with other clan members as soon as possible and pass on everything that happened to Yan Xingkang and Yan Zinun. Let them make future family plans. During this period, Yan Qinghan also expressed his reluctance and determination. After the matter was settled, under the gaze of the Yan and Zhang families, Master Honglu took the 2 young juniors and turned into a sword light and fled into the air. After flying for an unknown period of time, Yan Qingsun seemed to see the sea. In front of him was a vast ocean and the sky was blue. Langyu County, where the Langhuan sect is located in the north of Longming County. Its territory is even more vast, with a radius of nearly 1 million miles. The reason why it is called Langyu County is because half of the county is composed of large rivers and lakes. Its waters are so wide that it is like an ocean. The largest lakes in the entire Deccan are all within its territory. Therefore, Langyu County is rich in aquatic resources, not inferior to those coastal states and counties, and has its own characteristics. Among the many lakes, Qinghai Lake is the largest. There is only one island group in Qinghai Lake, called Penglei. The site of Langhuan sect was built on this, so the outside world sometimes calls Langhuan sect Penglei Island. At the level of Yuanying, there is not much to say. Master Honglu only focused on flying all the way. Longming County and Langyu County are 1,000,000 miles apart. Even Yuanying cultivators have to fly for several days without sleep. During this period, although Yan Qingsun and Yan Qinghan could not practice, they were also happy. Apart from anything else, the 2 experienced the pleasure of flying with a sword in the key training realm. As they got closer and closer to Lingyu sect, they also had a panoramic view of the situation in Qinghai Lake. They found that at this moment, Qinghai Lake was covered with dense phantoms, each of which represented a cultivator. If Kui Sword Pavilion is the holy place in the hearts of all sword cultivators, and Wuhan Hall is the holy place of all soul cultivators, then Lingyu sect is the holy place in the hearts of all water cultivators. The water system is the foundation of Lingyu sect, but its swordsmanship is not weak either. There are far more water cultivators than sword cultivators, so there are more cultivators participating in the Lingyu sect trial at the same time. It's just that the latter has more quotas for joining the sect, so it's not as fierce as Longming County, and the whole disciple recruiting trial is still regulated. Yan Lingyu has amazing eyesight. Although he is thousands of feet high and moving at high speed, he can still see some of the situation below. Compared with the mutual hostility of the Xianjiao in Longming County, the real opponents of the monks in Lingyu County are the aquatic monsters living deep in the lakes and seas. The latter must pass through the attacks of these monsters and arrive safely on Penglai Island before they can be accepted as disciples by Lingyu sect. The difficulty of its selection is even more dangerous. But these are none of Yan Lingyu and Yan Ling's business. Sometimes, it's really comfortable to go through the back door. Soon, after another half a day, the Penglai Islands were within reach. Master Honglu led the two juniors to land on one of the islands. Although it is an island, its area is hundreds of times larger than the entire Qiushiling. It is covered with mountain vegetation, with fairy air floating, and there are faint magnificent buildings standing in the middle. When Yan Lingyu was on the ground again, they had already arrived at an exquisite hall. Master Honglu cast a spell, and soon, two figures appeared. Uncle Honglu. Grandmaster Honglu, the people who came, one was a simple old woman, and the other was a young and beautiful woman. After the two entered the hall, they became interested in Yan Lingyu and his sister, and their minds were full of guesses. Master Honglu looked at the old woman, transmitted a message and gave some instructions, and then left in a hurry. He only left a sentence to Yan Lingyu, asking Master Zhuang if he didn't understand. Zhuang was the Taoist name of the old woman, and her real name was Jinyu. She was in the middle stage of the Golden Core and was also a logistics elder of the Lingyu sect. The young woman's maiden name was Fen Qinglian, and she had just entered the foundation building stage. Both of them were disciples of Daojian Peak. Master Honglu has been away for a long time, and many affairs have accumulated in the sect, which need to be handled by him personally. The disciple taking ceremony will not be held for another month. Master arranged for me to provide you with accommodation first. Master Zhuang was kind and said so. At the same time, she also valued this matter. The disciple who could be brought back by Master Honglu himself must have extraordinary ability. Qinglian, you take the two junior brothers and sisters to familiarize themselves with the environment of my Daojian Peak, and arrange a cave for them. Yes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197, The Future of the Yan Family. Ling Zhang passes away. Another month has passed since Yan Lingyu entered the Lingyu sect. During this month, the turmoil regarding the recruitment of disciples by the major forces in the Central Plains has finally been calmed down. Yan Lingyu will also participate in the entrance ceremony soon and officially become a disciple of the Lingyu sect. This night, the moon is dark and the wind is high. The young man sat alone in a cave in Daojian Peak, and he finally received news from the Yan family. After learning that Yan Lingyu and Yan Lingyu entered the Lingyu sect, the Yan family was overjoyed. Although this was somewhat different from their original plan, they were not able to worship in Kuiwei Jianj, but were selected by the former. But as a family from the southern county, the Yan family was still satisfied and had no complaints. Moreover, the Yan family immediately took action again and made corresponding changes to the plan in response to this matter. From the original garrison in Huangjiang City, Longming County, it was changed to develop in Woking City, Liangzhou, Lingyu County. Liangzhou is the largest state capital in the entire Lingyu County, and Woking City, the main city of Liangzhou, is across the Qinghai Lake from the Penglai Islands where the Lingyu sect is located. Its geographical location is superior and it is an important hub of the state. In this large city with a population of tens of millions, there are almost no mortals, all of whom are key training cultivators. The forces are also complicated, with casual cultivators, chambers of commerce, small sects, and small and medium-sized families intertwined here, and the land is also very expensive. It is no longer possible to enter with spiritual stones, you also need a background. And for the Yan family today, it is not so far-fetched to obtain a place to survive here. Since Yan Qingxun's Langhuan sect token was sent to his home, the Yan family has become confident, and has unimpeded access in Walking City, and purchased a house as the foundation of the Yan family. Based on this, the Yan family can begin to lay out and plan throughout Liangzhou and even Langyu County, seeking greater benefits and development. At the same time, it can also mobilize clansmen from faraway places to come here. The resources in the Central Plains are far beyond the reach of Xiaonan County, especially Langyu County, which is rich in resources. As long as there are enough people and time, the Yan family will surely be able to rise. Of course, how to do this is not mentioned in the message. But Yan Qingxun still trusts Yan Xingkang and the brains of his son Yan Xinyun. What he has to do now is to restore his strength as soon as possible, and gain a higher position in the Langhuan sect to obtain high-level information. The content of this message is complicated. In addition to the things mentioned above, the letter also mentions the situation of other branches of the Yan family in the Central Plains. Because the talents of the younger generations of the Yan family are different, it is impossible to send everyone to one place, and all eggs cannot be put in one basket. And this time the forces recruited disciples, involving the 18 major forces in the entire Central Plains. From the message, Yan Qingxun learned that in addition to him and Yan Qing'an, there were also clansmen who entered the top forces. Yan Qingxu joined the Wenyu Chamber of Commerce. This Chamber of Commerce is the second largest Chamber of Commerce after the Daqian Chamber of Commerce. Its trade scope covers almost the entire Daqian dynasty. Even in Yingzhou, far away in Xiaonan County, its presence can be seen. Then there's Yan Qingheng, who entered the top family, the Mo family, and became a peripheral member. The Mo family is good at mechanisms, and has outstanding achievements in formations and puppets. 9 out of 10 of these flying boats floating over Daqian are from the hands of the Mo family. And the long-distance transmission arrays connecting various states and counties are mostly the work of the Mo family. And they are also royal relatives. They are among the top 3 of the 18 major forces. Of course, Yan Qingheng and Yan Qingxiu can only be regarded as peripheral members of these two forces. After all, it is too difficult for outsiders to really enter the core of forces, such as chambers of commerce and families. Unlike the major sects, as long as you are talented enough, you can become a core disciple at any time and receive a lot of resources from the sect. Therefore, the Yan family still puts its main business position in Langyu County, and lets all those scattered clansmen rush to Walking City to gain a foothold here first. At the same time, the Yan family has already contacted Keshuling, which is millions of miles away. The latter will send people here in a steady stream in the near future. On the other hand, the news about the Hai family was also mentioned in the message. Hai Yumo, the descendant of Hai Chonggang of the Hai family, was accepted as a disciple by the Spirit Hall with his special 9-soul spirit body, which greatly boosted the momentum of the Hai family. Yan Qingxun seemed to be able to see the smile on the face of the old man Hai Chonggang. Because the Spirit Hall is far away in Daluo County, the development of the Yan family and the Hai family in recent years will become alienated. But the relationship between the two families will definitely become closer. Because if they want to take root in the Central Plains, they, who have just arrived, still need allies even if they have top forces behind them. It is worth mentioning that among the new Iron Triangle, Kunlun Gate did not gain anything in this incident. The 3 outstanding disciples of Kunlun Gate were not selected by the top forces. Even Zhang Zhang, who they had high hopes for, died in the trial. Helplessly, they can only choose to rely on the Yan family to seek a chance of development. But it is foreseeable that under such circumstances, Kunlun sect will also slowly become a vassal of the Yan family, just like the Bailu family and Kongtong sect. The world of cultivating immortals is so cruel. In the message, following these information, there is a name, Zheng Qilian. He is a member of the Zheng family in the Langhuan sect, and an elder in the early stage of the Golden Core. The Zheng family's intention is also very clear. They want the relationship between the Yan and Zheng families to go further, and the members of the two families in the sect can also support each other. After all, the sect also has factions, and it is also a big whirlpool. If a member of the clan dies in it, it will be a great blow to the entire family. Doing so is also safe. Moreover, it is worth being grateful that the Zhang family has made a lot of contributions to the Yan family's entry into Walking City so quickly. In addition, Zhang Huayan's previous suggestion to Yan Qinghan, the Yan family has done a big favor to the other party. This needs to be repaid. Moreover, after so long of testing, the Yan family also felt that the Zhang family was promising, especially Zhang Huayan, who was shrewd, sophisticated and smooth, and was a good partner. Therefore, the Yan family was also trying their best to promote a friendship between the two families. And the next step was the marriage between the two sides. At the end of the message, a short sentence made Yan Qingxun, who was originally still relieved, look gloomy. Yan Lingyu sat in meditation. Yan Qingxun sighed and was silent for a long time. Yan Lingyu's lifespan was not long, and he had experienced wars one after another, fighting on the front line every time. It was reasonable that his life came to an end. Fortunately, before he left, he saw his clansmen entering the upper clan and saw the bright prospects of the Yan family. I think Yan Lingyu, who has been fighting for the family for 200 years, can rest in peace. After calming down, Yan Qingxun sent a reply. He walked back to the practice room alone and began to practice. The road ahead is long and arduous, and he still needs to keep working hard. Chapter 198, The Ceremony of Recruiting Disciples, Jingshan's Disciple. On the top of the towering mountains, there is a magnificent palace. 30 young men and women stood in a row in the hall. After more than a month, the disciple recruiting trial of the Langhuan sect finally ended. And these young people at the moment are the new star disciples who have just entered the sect. Some of them have entered the Penglai Islands through layers of selection and various experiences. There are also those who are accepted by the Langhuan sect in advance because of their outstanding natural appearance, like Yan Qingxun. In the world of cultivating immortals, talent is sometimes more important than strength. Hai Yumo, who is far away in Daluo County, is in this situation. In fact, she has not passed the complete Wuhan Hall trial, but the 9-soul spirit body she possesses is rare even in the entire history of the Wuhan Hall, so it is reasonable for her to be admitted as an exception. And this world is not short of such geniuses. Under normal circumstances, the Langhuan sect recruits a group of disciples every half a century, and many forces in the Central Plains are like this. Because entering the foundation before the age of 30 is a threshold, and 30 years is also a watershed. But today is different. It has only been 5 years since the last time the disciple recruiting trial was launched. This is because the great era is coming, and the major forces can no longer use the original sect rules and must prepare in advance. Although it has not been long since the last disciple recruiting, there is no shortage of talent this time. On the contrary, there are as many as 30 new disciples, which is more than usual. You should know that the threshold of the trial of Langhuan sect this time is much higher than before. This also proves that the great era is coming. The vision returned to the hall, and Yan Qingxun's handsome figure stood there. Like other fellow disciples, he was bathed in the colorful spiritual light and accepted the initial baptism of the sect. Yan Qingxun only felt that something was imprinted in his body, and a vague connection was generated between him and the entire Langhuan sect. Then, he raised the spiritual needle given by the sect in advance, pierced into the palm of his hand, and squeezed out a drop of brightly colored blood. This is his blood essence. After leaving the body, the blood essence turned into a group of small water droplets and floated towards the top of the hall. Yan Qingxun looked up. Although he was in a building, he saw a starry night sky. His blood essence also turned into one of the stars. This meant that his soul lamp had been lit in the Langhuan sect. Then it was time to familiarize himself with the sect's rules. Thousands of sect rules were continuously transmitted into Yan Qingxun's sea of consciousness, including the general situation of the Langhuan sect. The Langhuan sect has 5 main veins, occupying 5 islands in the Penglai Islands. The 5 veins are Shanshu, Daojin, Linyan, Fuchao, and Chongshan. After reading the sect rules, it was time for the disciples to worship into the 5 veins. Yan Qingxun and Yan Qinghan naturally chose the Daojin vein. The only difference is that the others also had a disciple-taking ceremony during the process. The elders of the corresponding Dao veins would come forward to recruit disciples. For example, Yan Qinghan worshipped under the Jindan cultivator Pingayu Shengren and became a direct disciple of the other party. But Yan Qingxun was the only one who didn't say anything, and the immortal Honglu who was hanging above the hall didn't say anything either. It wasn't until the end of the disciple-taking ceremony and the other disciples followed their masters to leave that the immortal Honglu came to Yan Qingsun and said, "I know you have a lot of questions, just follow me." Sect-type forces all pay attention to the master-disciple system. Because there are few bloodlines in the sect to establish relationships, teaching by example and respecting teachers and filial piety are the best methods. The master and the apprentice are mutually accomplished. The master guides the apprentice, and the apprentice repays the master. This is the most basic condition for a sect to be able to maintain for a long time. Therefore, Yan Qingsun's talent is there, and he should be rushed to be accepted. But this did not happen. I think it was the immortal Honglu, the leader of the Daojin lineage, who had other plans. So Yan Qingsun followed the other party obediently and left. Now the former also has an extraordinary understanding of the entire Langhuan sect. Daojin Peak is on Lingaizi Island, in the Penglai Islands. Yan Qingsun came out of the main island and was dragged by the immortal Honglu all the way to a small attic on Lingai Island. The attic is decorated in an antique style, but it seems that there is a lot of dust. I think few people come here. Yan Qingsun entered with a hint of curiosity. The portrait hanging above the center of the first floor attracted his attention. It was a bohemian man with sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, handsome appearance, and a comfortable look. He was wearing a white robe and carrying a black sword. He looked like a free and easy sword fairy. He met all the fantasies of sword cultivators in Yan Qingsun's mind. Maybe he didn't know this person because he had just come to the sect, but Yan Qingsun had a hunch that Master Honglu brought him here, which should be related to the person in the portrait. This person is my senior brother, and his Taoist name is Jingshan. At the same time, Master Honglu spoke, and there was a sadness in his brows. Yan Qingsun did not reply, but listened silently to the other party's next words. Master Jingshan is the most outstanding swordsman in the history of Langhuan sect. His appearance and qualities are far superior to those of this old man. He is the person who embodies the word talented most vividly, and Daojin Peak prospered because of him. Qingsun, you may not know that 700 years ago, the Daojin lineage was still called the Lingai lineage. It was because of the appearance of Master Jingshan that it was renamed Daojin. He established his foundation at the age of 17, achieved golden elixir at the age of 40, and became a nascent soul at the age of 180. He touched the threshold of refining void at the age of 300. The entire sect originally thought that his entry into refining void was a foregone conclusion, but unfortunately, fate is unpredictable, and he died unexpectedly. The lifespan of a nascent soul cultivator is 800 years, and he died at the age of 300, which is considered a premature death. Originally Yan Qingsun thought that Master Honglu would explain the reason for Master Jingshan's life and death, but the other party did not do so. Instead, he said, Master Jingshan was devoted to the Tao. The sect asked him to accept disciples every year, but he never agreed. In the end, he did not even accept a registered disciple. When he was alive, he had the best relationship with me. I also noticed that he had the intention of accepting disciples and preaching before his death, but there was no suitable candidate. This is why he refused to accept disciples. Even if he left a legacy, no one has been able to inherit it in the past 100 years. Suddenly, Master Honglu looked at Yan Qingsun with a deep gaze, and said slowly, "Your talent is very similar to that of Master Jingshan. From your last move, I can see that you are more self-aware in the way of the sword. You have an extraordinary ability to comprehend the artistic conception of the way of the sword. Your swordsmanship is derived from the origin, and your own understanding permeates it. His talent is even better than mine. Originally, I thought this was an unknown spirit, but you don't show any characteristics of a spirit. I think you're just like Master Jingshan, a pure sword genius. So, my school of thought is not suitable for you, so, I want to recruit disciples for someone else. Are you willing to become Master Jingshan?" Master Honglu's tone was full of vicissitudes. But he was not resolute, which gave Yan Qingsun room to choose. After all, it was like worshipping a dead person as a teacher, which meant less care, guidance and benefits. But Yan Qingsun was interested in the other party's deeds. With a natural sword body, he didn't need much guidance in swordsmanship. What he needed more was the way of swordsmanship. And Master Jingshan's swordsmanship might be worth learning. Disciples willing. Chapter 199, Sect Competition, Qingsun Plan. Okay, when Yan Qingsun agreed to worship Master Jingshan as his master, Master Honglu smiled with satisfaction and said loudly. Jingshan entered the sect much earlier than Honglu, and he also took good care of the latter. Honglu has always been grateful to this senior brother. At the same time, he was ashamed that he could not do anything to help his senior brother. Now, being able to find a descendant who can inherit his mantle for his senior brother can be regarded as Honglu's own little contribution. Then, Master Honglu gently pointed at the portrait and said, "Nephew Kingsun, you should pay homage to your master." Yan Kingsun did not say much, but bowed down solemnly, kowtowed, and said, "Disciple Yan Kingsun, I pay homage to the master." For a moment, it seemed as if some mysterious meaning was imposed on the young man, which made him tremble all over, and he became more solemn and respectful. After a few breaths, he slowly stood up. Seeing this, Master Honglu on the side waved his hand, and a dark sword embryo appeared in front of Yan Kingsun. "Although your master is not here, I can teach you on your behalf. You can call me uncle from now on." "This is a gift from uncle." Yan Kingsun took the sword embryo solemnly and thanked him in time. "I already know the technique you are practicing. It is the Zhuangxi Shumianju. The sect has the complete version of this technique, which you can practice. You don't need to switch to other techniques," Master Honglu said. "Why do these big forces set such a strict threshold for accepting disciples and only accept Kigen cultivators? This is because after the spiritual energy is infused and the foundation is established, it becomes particularly difficult to switch to another technique. The techniques practiced by small and medium-sized forces and casual cultivators are definitely not as good as those of the big forces. Some people's techniques are even fragments, and there is no possibility of continuing to practice, which is equivalent to cutting off their future. For cultivators in this situation, even if they are very talented, the top forces will turn a blind eye." Then, Master Honglu said seriously, "In 1 year, the sect will hold a competition for new members. This competition is of great significance. It is related to your future resource allocation. In addition, the top 2 in this competition will have the opportunity to enter the Zhuangxi secret realm. Therefore, junior brother Kingsun must not slack off in cultivation." The young man nodded and replied, "Kingsun will definitely do his best." Master Honglu said this as a reminder to Yan Kingsun. Sects and families are different after all. In family forces, even if your talent and strength are low, the family will give you basic cultivation materials because of the blood connection. But it is different in sects. The sect will not provide for anyone for free. In this kind of force, all cultivation resources must be fought for and competed for by yourself. Cultivation is like sailing against a current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. As long as you slack off a little, you will be surpassed by others. The competition in the sect is very cruel. At the beginning, Yan Renming was also under such pressure and went astray step by step. This is also the reason why the sect forces are not as united as the family forces. The newcomer competition after 1 year is the first and most important test. Only if you stand out from it can you be 1 step ahead of others. 1 step faster, every step faster. This principle is the same everywhere. Everyone has equal talent, or even better than others, but others get more resources than you, then you will always be behind others, and the result of falling behind others is that resources are reduced. In this way, you will never be able to raise your head and never get out of the day. And as far as Yan Kingsun knows, in the Langhun sect, there are 4 rankings of heaven, earth, and yellow, corresponding to the 4 stages of cultivation from nascent soul to key training. Every disciple of the Langhun sect will be on the list, not even the elders and the sect master. And the higher your ranking in it, the greater your authority and the more benefits you will get. Sect authority is also an important resource. Only when the authority is improved can you enter and exit the various secret realms and pavilions in the Langhun sect freely. This is another disguised incentive mechanism. Therefore, even Yan Kingsun, he's extremely cautious about the initial trial after 1 year. Seeing the other party's solemn expression, Master Honglu also comforted him, "With your strength, it is relatively easy to get a good ranking. Since I said I would guide you, if junior brother Kingsun has any confusion about his cultivation within this year, you can come to me at any time. Of course, you will not have such an opportunity after a year, so don't be too self-righteous or timid. The personal guidance of a Yuanying master is indeed a great opportunity for ordinary Kigen cultivators. Then I will trouble you, Uncle Honglu. Also, you can also go to the Huajian cave, the place where your master practiced before, and walk around more. Maybe you will have your own understanding and feelings." Junior understands. Coming out of the small attic in Gushan, Yan Kingsun went straight back to his cave. He sat down and began to think and calculate. As for cultivation, With cultivation improvement, Yan Qingxun did not think that he would lose to others before the giant in realm, even if he was practicing the Zhuangxi Shumianju. So, he never worried about this aspect. He had gone through the foundation building process twice, so he would not care about it. But the progress in swordsmanship still needs to be carefully considered. Although the Autumn Water Sword and the Ice Soul Sword are still top sword styles at this stage, they will gradually become outdated as his strength and cultivation continue to improve. Yan Qingxun needs a higher grade sword technique to condense a new sword style. Low-level sword techniques are easy to find and can be provided by the family, but high-level ones are hard to come by. Yan Qingxun cannot rely entirely on low-level sword techniques to superimpose them to achieve qualitative changes. That will take him a lot of time. Daojian Peak has a special sutra pavilion, which must have everything he needs. But if you want to exchange sword manuals in it, you need a lot of sect merit points. These points can only be obtained by completing sect tasks. Yan Qingxun has already anticipated his future career. But there are also benefits. While completing sect tasks, he can also take care of and support his family. Letting the Yan family participate in the Langhuan sect will naturally have many benefits. Finally, there is one more important matter, which Yan Qingxun should find a way to complete now. That is to understand the artifact. The system gave Yan Qingxun an artifact embryo, which has been hidden in his body. But the Yan family is blocked from information, and Yan Qingxun has no way to know how to nurse the artifact embryo and make it a finished product. Moreover, under this matter, the High family's know-it-all is not useful. You can't ask people for no reason. It is easy to arouse suspicion from others and get into trouble. Because this kind of spiritual object should not be accessible to a small or medium-sized family. Therefore, Yan Qingxun wanted to join the upper-level forces for this reason. As long as he has enough authority, he can find information about the artifact embryo in the Langhuan sect. Yan Qingxun has a hunch that how far the Yan family can go in the end is closely related to this embryo. Chapter 200 Urgent Need for Population, Migration to Yuan's Hao. Huaqingcheng, Liangfengyun. This is the residence that the Yan family bought for temporary residence after arriving in Lingyu County. At this moment, in the center of the courtyard, there is a simple coffin made of fine solid wood. In the coffin is an old man with his eyes closed and a peaceful face. The old man is Yan Lingyu, the oldest member of the Yan family who just passed away. He has guarded the Yan family for a full 190 years, and witnessed a rise of the Yan family from Yingzhou to dominating Xiaonan County, and finally entering the Central Plains. His selfless dedication to the family has been remembered by all the Yan family members. And his sudden death also poured cold water on the Yan family, who were originally slightly happy because of the completion of the task. For a time, all the Yan family members, including Yan Xingkang, felt heavy. Here are all the descendants of Yan Lingyu. They have all been taken care of by the former and are full of love for the deceased, so their inner discomfort is more real and cannot be dissipated. Close the coffin and send the old man Yan Lingyu back to Qiushuling for burial. Yan Xingkang, the pillar of the Yan family, was the first to recover and said so. The Yan family has unforgettable feelings for Qiushuling, and Yan Lingyu, who has been away for more than 20 years, has the last wish of being buried in his hometown and returning to his roots. As a grandson, the Yan family will naturally find a way to accomplish it, even if Lingyu County and Xiaonan County are thousands of miles apart. A few days later, in the Yan family meeting hall, several senior members of the Yan family sat here together. Yan Lingyu, a member of the Yan family for 7 generations who was not originally here, also came from afar to see his brother for the last time and continue to participate in the family's decision-making. Yan Xingkang sat in the first seat with a solemn expression, listening carefully to the reports of the clan members, including personnel transfers and the storage of spirit stones. After the process was completed one by one, it was not until the last moment of the meeting that the main topic was entered. Yan Xingkang coughed lightly, and all the senior members of the Yan family present looked at him. He said, "The next step is to discuss the location of the family. We need to develop in the Central Plains for a long time. It is definitely not okay to hide in Woking City. The Yan family needs a vast place to develop. Otherwise, it is acceptable in the short term, but it will inevitably lead to the stagnation of the family's development in the long run. Woking City is indeed a good place. It is convenient for trading, there are many chambers of commerce, and cultivators from all sides will sell spiritual objects and materials here. Many precious resources can be found in this city, and the information channels are wide. At the same time, there are many teleportation arrays here, so it is very convenient and fast to go to various places. However, Wonking City is not suitable for the growth of forces, especially family forces. Wonking City is very large, but the spiritual veins buried under the city are not rich, unable to cover the entire city area, and are still controlled by large forces. Wonking City can develop to such a scale and be called the first city in Lingyu County. It is entirely due to the inexhaustible supplies of Qinghai Lake and the lofty Langhuan City. Without spiritual veins, cultivators must use spiritual stones if they want to practice, but spiritual stones will always run out one day. In addition to the spiritual vein problem, there is another fact that the Yan family cannot accept. As we all know, if a force wants to continue to develop, it must have sufficient reserve talents. However, Wonking City is extremely lacking in this. Because there are not many mortals here, and they are also controlled by various forces. It is difficult for high-level cultivators to have children, so relying on the vast mortal population to expand the new cultivators within the force is the right way. Especially for families, forces with blood is a bond. Does the Yan family have mortals? Of course there are, and there are quite a few, with a scale of millions. But these are all in Xiaonan County. These mortals are not cultivators, and the number is so large that it is impossible to transport them to Wonking City. Even if they are transported here, there is no place for them to reproduce. And if there is less new blood, the layout of the Yan family in the Central Plains can only be maintained for 100 years. When Yan's Initun and other foundation building cultivators die, they will have to give up the family business they have laid. Therefore, now the Yan family urgently needs a place to recuperate and raise mortals. And this can be solved with spirit stones. Yan Zikang took out a map, opened it and spread it in front of everyone, and his fingers fell on 3 places. Yuan's Hao, Xing's Hao, and Ma's Hao. Everyone, take a look at how to choose. It is not difficult for the Yan family to find a piece of land that is unowned and has spiritual veins. Just spend spiritual stones to buy it from the Dacian imperial city, and even the population can be purchased from other forces. At least the Zhang family can provide a lot of support. But spiritual stones are needed everywhere. And this matter will cost at least 500,000 to find a good spiritual vein. The Yan family can't take out so many spiritual stones at once, so they need to consider it carefully. After layers of discussion, the top leaders of the Yan family finally decided to settle in Chennai Mountain, Yuan's Hao. Yuan's Hao is located in the southernmost part of Lingyu County, deep in the inland, warm in spring and cool in summer, a land of fish and rice, and there are many mortals there. The most important thing is that although Yuan's Hao is remote, it is also far away from the center of the confrontation. There are not many high-level forces in Yuan's Hao. It is very suitable for emerging forces like the Yan family to be stationed there. When the destination is decided, the next step is to discuss construction. After an unknown amount of time, Yan Zikang suddenly mentioned Yan Qingxuan. Now Qingxuan and Qinghan have entered the Langhuan sect, but our Yan family cannot think that we can do whatever we want just because we have climbed a big tree. Yan Zikang knew that his clansmen were not outspoken, but he still reminded them to prevent future troubles. He continued, the sect is the sect, and the family is the family. If our Yan family often troubles Qingxuan and Qinghan, maybe they won't say anything, but there is no guarantee that the Langhuan sect will secretly impose restrictions, affecting the development of our clansmen in the sect. Although being a disciple of the Langhuan sect is indeed a noble status, it is only the Langhuan sect after all, not the extremely protective Kui Wei Jianj. Let alone the Yan family, even the Zhang family, there are many people in Lingyu County who are not afraid. At this moment, Yan Zinitun, who was sitting on the side, also said, "Third brother, but the clan land has been newly built in recent days, and their identities are still needed to shock the scene." Yan Zikang said, Qingxuan and the others are also members of the Yan family after all. The family has paid a lot to send them to the sect, so naturally they want to return. I said this just to prevent the clan members from getting carried away. The Yan family is about to move into Yuan's Hao. With one more force, they will have to cut off a share of the benefits. The Yan family will definitely be excluded by the local forces in Yuan's Hao. At this time, they really have to bring Yan Qingxuan and Yan Qinghan with them, just in case. Zinun, after the place is ready, you can let Qingxuan go there again. Yes, this matter is over, and the next thing is the issue of personnel deployment. It is impossible for the Yan family to send all of them to Yuan's Hao. Someone must also take care of Walking City. After all, this is the place where people can really get rich. In the end, the Yan family let Yan Zinitan and Yan Lingyu lead some of the clan members to stay in Walking City, and the rest of the clan members went to develop Yuan's Hao. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.